In the 80s and 70s, people didn't get it yet to use your helmet as a weapon. Then in the 90s, they started using their heads as the weapon. The insurance industry, dude, it's kind of like almost like realtor. You know what I mean? The level of entry to get into that space is low.
They say that's the key to communication is if you can take something super complex and make it simple, like you're going to win every time.
That's where the rubber really hit the road for me of what my future was going to look like. Because I didn't know that I wanted to be an entrepreneur to that degree.
If you were to tell me that I'd have to have meetings with bankers and I'd have to do this, and this. I mean, there was things that I needed to do that I would never have done.
The people within the walls of the organization see is the people that are talking the most, who has the most employees, whose team's the biggest. Fuck that. In this world that we're talking about right now, all that fucking matters is profitability.
There's one thing that all champions have in common. They get shit done. So welcome to the Get Shit Done experience. Well, we are back at it again. This is the Get Shit Done experience, also known as the GSDX podcast. Thank you for checking in. By the way, we are getting a lot of rating and reviews, so thank you so much for doing that. Check us out on Apple, Spotify. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you're on the other one, check us out on YouTube. You know how it works. Check us out on all of them. We got quite a show today. We got our CEO, Mr. Tim Ward on.
Thank you.
But I got to tell you, I went down a rabbit hole last night. I'm not sure I got so much sleep. So I just woke up, for after about an hour of dozing off after the rabbit hole, drank about a pot and a half of coffee, went and worked out, drank more coffee. And now here I am sitting in front of what some would call a Chicagoland legend. But I guarantee you this, he's a Schaumburg legend for sure.
For sure.
And if you are in the greater Chicagoland area, my wife is from Schaumburg, so she's going to get a kick out of this.
She's hot. Only hot.
Only hot girl from
Schaumburg. Schaumburg, exactly.
That's what it is. So
Schaumburg Hooters is the best Hooters in the country.
You're not lying.
Yeah, he's not wrong on that one.
That voice that you are hearing is Mr. John Cerasani. How are you, sir?
Good. Thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely.
Haven't been in Hanover Park in years. It's good to be back. Good to be back.
Did you stop at all three stoplights?
It's like, hey, we got this professional podcast. Like, all right, cool. Where's it at? New York City. Oh, it's actually in Hanover Park.
Yeah.
We're working our way up to New York City.
We'll get there, buddy.
There's an ordinance. Apparently, I'm not allowed in New York. I don't know what happened, but Hanover is where we settled in. So
yeah, I didn't even know this was Hanover Park. Actually, when I pulled up, isn't the Dave and Buster's around here somewhere?
Was it down the street?
Yeah, that's considered Addison, though.
Yeah,
I think it kind of crosses.
Yeah,
Addison.
crazy.
Hanover's way better than Addison.
Hello.
Sorry, Mayor.
Hey, fun fact for you. About 20 years ago, they changed the school zones for for Schaumburg High School and Conant High School.
Okay.
And then the Hanover Park kids all started going to Schaumburg and make any analogy you want to make about it, but the Schaumburg got really good at sports.
That's what happened.
Shortly thereafter.
Shortly thereafter. We got some thoroughbred athletes coming out of Hanover.
Yes,
everyone knows that.
Yes, you do.
I mean, they pretty much run the combine out of there, don't they? I think.
I mean, for real.
Yeah, like an elementary combine. I don't know. It's interesting.
And all your national viewers are like, what the hell are these guys talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
Hanover Park.
Just hang in there. We'll get to the part that's relevant to you in a minute.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you haven't checked it out, let's play along here. You got to follow John on Instagram, and that's the rabbit hole that I went down. So we're going to do a little bit of an origin story here because there's layers to this story that I think are extremely powerful as it relates to the Get Shit Done experience, which is that catalog of commonality that the top 1% to 5% kind of all have that thing in common. They get shit done no matter what. And one thing that really stood out to me, you'll notice when you go on Instagram and look at John's profile, by the way, 500,000 followers.
Ridiculous.
And growing. He gambles a lot, but the best bet that he ever made in his life, he's going to tell you, is when he decided to bet on himself. Is that true?
That's true.
That's what I got out of it last night, so I could have run through a brick wall. But I want to take it back because you grew up an athlete, and you grew up in a household where your father was the coach of the Schaumburg football team. So being the son of a high school coach is not exactly easy, but I would imagine it was probably pretty powerful at the same time.
I had an older brother that was a pretty good athlete too, or I have an older brother that was a good athlete. He's 5 years older than me, and he actually played quarterback in college. I played tight end in college, but he wasn't big like me. I played tight end. I was ever since I was in kindergarten. I was a head taller than every other kid in my class. You look at the class photos, it's always like, okay, why is the third grader in that picture with a kindergarten?
I was the kid sitting Indian style holding the sign that said Miss Wilson's class. That was me. You were the kid standing up. I was holding the sign.
He was the kid with the beard.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
But I really grew up way bigger than every other kid, and I was also a good athlete. I was one of the fastest kids too. So it kind of just, as life progressed, there was an expectation that I was going to do something.
Yeah.
I stopped growing at one where I wasn't a foot taller than everybody by the time I got to high school, but I was still 6 foot. I think I entered high school like 6'1", and I'm 6'5" now. So basketball kind of went by the wayside, and football is going to be the sport. And it helped that my dad was the head football coach there. It helped and it hurt, okay, because my dad was the head coach at Schaumburg High School from 1984 to 2005 when he retired. And before that...
That's a run.
Yeah, and before that, he was the assistant coach for most of the 70s, right after they had opened. So he's a known entity in Schaumburg. And even to this day, it's funny, on my Instagram comments, will be like some guy that's like 60 or something. Hey, I had your dad in 1974.
Or screw the Saxons.
Kona people will be talking shit. Yeah. Exactly. But luckily for me, I kind of, I lived up to the expectation. So I think it was a little harder for my brother because he played quarterback, and quarterback's one of those damn positions, man, where it's so subjective if the guy's good or not. You know what I mean? And we didn't have the internet back then. There's this thing now for high school freaking kids it's called Huddle. Every college coach in the country has access to every film and every damn kid. It's right there. Well, back then you needed to kind of champion your kid to the colleges, and unless you're like a freaking Marshall Falk or something, where he's running faster than everybody or something like that. But you need that high school coach to champion that kid to these D1 programs. And my dad had a knack for doing that. He had a chain of quarterbacks, I want to say like 12 in a row, that all got Division I or 1AA scholarships. He had a really good knack. A couple played in the NFL, Kurt Kittner, a guy named Paul Justin. But when it was my brother's time, everyone knew my dad had this knack of doing that. Well, now he's just doing it because it's his son. So everyone's questioning my brother.
So people were assholes even before the internet.
Dude, seriously. Well, I think it was tougher. Exactly. Well, then my brother ended up getting up. Here's what people don't understand about high school football, bro. It's like my brother gets a full ride to Wisconsin.
Yeah.
The Badgers. It was Barry Alvarez's first year. You think because some guy said, or you want to be buddies with this high school coach, you could get that kid a scholarship to Wisconsin? That's a business, man. They're not wasting scholarships. No. So by the time I came along 5 years later, I'm in that shadow now, but it was undeniable because I'm big, I'm strong, I'm fast, you know what I mean? And I played tight end, so it was a little bit different story. But I got to tell you, man, I still had that chip on my shoulder a little bit. I could have went anywhere in the country. Ended up getting a scholarship to Notre Dame, and just like what I said about my brother was Wisconsin, God can't get you a scholarship to Notre Dame. Like you got to be able to do it yourself. No third party is going to get you that scholarship.
Yeah.
So by the time I got to Notre Dame, even me in the back of my head was questioning.
You had imposter syndrome?
You know what? We didn't call it that back then, though. What do we call it back then?
Fear, I guess, yeah.
Well, dude,
doubt.
I get there, and I'm like, okay, maybe my dad did have something to do with it. And Lou Holtz was our head coach, and I remember we went on the damn visit there, and my mom, so kid thinks, man, my mom was in a wheelchair, okay? She had multiple sclerosis. And I remember Lou Holtz making such a big deal to my mom, making her feel like $1 million, all this stuff.
Yeah.
My dumb ass in the back of my head is thinking I only got a scholarship to Notre Dame because my dad's the coach and Lou Holtz felt bad for my mom. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it took about 2 days being at practice there before I realized I fucking belonged there. I was putting
making one-handers.
You know what? I was more of a blocking tight end, but I was putting people on their backs in drills, and I definitely knew I belonged there. But you went through that progression, in junior high and high school. It's tough being the coach's son, man. I think everybody else that had their dad and a lot of good college athletes and pro athletes had their dad as a coach in high school. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I'm going to guess that a lot of them went through that same kind of feeling.
Lou Holtz was a standard setter, right? I mean, he held the line. He still does, even on TV.
Yep.
He's holding the line.
Yep.
What was that like to go from your dad to a Lou Holtz?
Yeah.
Did you see similarities? Was there a huge difference? Was there a culture shock? Like, what were you feeling?
It was so cool because a year earlier, I'm watching all these guys on damn TV. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now you're sitting there playing next to, Derek Mays was a first, or he was projected to be a first round draft pick, and you got Ron Paulus was the quarterback, and you're seeing these guys all through. Now they're your teammates. You're dicking around with each other in the locker room and stuff. So everything was kind of like surrealness. You know what I mean? Including playing for Holtz, man. Including playing for Holtz, and I had only really had my dad as a coach, so seeing the different styles and everything else was kind of neat to be a part of.
So you're at Notre Dame for how long?
So I got into a little trouble. So second year at Notre Dame, so I redshirted my freshman year. My second year, I split time as the number 2 tight end. Played in just about every game. I think maybe 2 I didn't play in. The senior went on to the pros after that. It was and the other guy I was competing with is gone. Now it's me and a guy a year younger than me competing for the starting spot. We go into spring practice, competing neck to neck. I think I was going to win it. Then we get a freaking damn phone call, man, and it's for something I did 2 months earlier. And I punched a kid in the nose. He was a friend of mine, played on the football team. And stupid. It's 4 a.m, dumbass move. And the guy's dad got pissed that Lou Holtz had resigned at this point, by the way. We had a new coach. Bob Davey was the head coach. The kid's dad was pissed that Bob Davey didn't suspend me from spring ball. And so he's sitting there in the stands because they have open practices a lot for spring ball. Yeah. He's watching me play and earning the starting job. He's pissed that Davey's letting this happen.
Yeah.
The Chicago Tribune's writing stories. Cerasani and O'Leary neck and neck for starting tight end job. I'm starting to get a lot of publicity. It's an Italian kid from Chicago playing tight end. People liked that story in the Chicago papers. You know what I'm saying? So the kid's dad goes to the school, goes around the football program, and makes sure they're well aware of the incident that happened.
Jeez. And
at that point, there was nothing much we could do because Notre Dame's a Catholic institution, man, and they're not going to put anything with their integrity. Football's never going to be in front of their integrity.
They protect their brand at all costs.
Yeah,
for sure. And this kid's dad was kind of influential too. He was the kid I beat up was a linebacker, but he was a walk-on the football team. He really had no business being on the football team. His older sister, as sad as it is, if you remember back in the early 90s, you won't probably remember, but the Notre Dame women's swimming team got into a bad car accident. It was in a blizzard. They were coming back from Northwestern, crashed, and I think a handful of girls died in it. And all but one of the girls' families sued the shit out of Notre Dame, rightfully so, and they won. They were in one of those little 15-passenger vans.
Yeah. I remember it.
Okay. Well, one of the guys it's very sad. I didn't really even realize. I realized
you're living through it, and you don't.
Well, no, because this was a few years earlier. I didn't even know this person that I was friends with that I got into a fight with. I didn't know that story about his sister. Okay, so after the fact, I started hearing whispers. Do you know who his family is? They're going to bend over backwards for that kid, and then because that kid's dad of that situation, he had direct ties to administration at the school. Okay, so it was one phone call for him, and plus, and by the way, I did punch the kid.
Yeah,
in their rule book it says if you do that, you're getting suspended or expelled. They chose the lesser of the two. I got suspended. Well, it just so happened. Guess what? When that suspension was
the season
in the fucking fall, where I was supposed to be the starting tight end.
Yeah, jeez.
So,
what timing,
dude? It sucked. It sucked, bro.
So did you sit out a season?
So I was supposed.
And by the way, that's your sophomore season, but actually junior year because you redshirted. So I mean, you're in college terms, you're in your prime right now.
I got 3 years eligibility.
Yeah, he's got 3 years eligibility.
But if you got 3 years eligibility, and in your second year, you're going to start. I mean, that's a fast track.
Oh yeah, exactly. No, exactly.
Because you're going to get all the reps.
I would have started the next 3 years.
It's like the Bill Parcells rule. Like how many reps did he get? How much play? So if you got 3 years as a starter,
that's what it was.
Yeah,
it would have been 3 years. I mean, assuming I kept the spot, there was a couple of other good tight ends that I would be competing with, but I was supposed to be the starter. And so when you're 19 years old, you know fucking everything. You know everything. Oh, you can't do this to me. I'm getting this is bullshit. Blah 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 blah. Well, Northwestern University happened to be very good at football at that time.
Yeah.
They just won the Big Ten back-to-back. It was closer.
Who was the coach? The guy who went to Colorado?
Gary Burnett.
Gary Burnett, man. Yeah. He turned that thing around quick.
Pretty awesome, huh?
Yeah.
So my dad, again, was a high school football coach. He has a direct line to all these damn coaches.
Yeah.
There's a younger guy named Kurt Kittner. They ended up being University of Illinois' quarterback. So my dad has all these colleges coming into the high school right now to see Kurt Kittner. He ended up being a star at U of I. Well, he starts mentioning to him, hey, if my son transferred, would you guys be interested? And lo and behold, I went and did that. I got a release from Notre Dame to talk to schools formally. Ended up visiting UCLA, University of Wisconsin, Northwestern, and then Miami. We did an unofficial thing because they didn't have enough scholarships left. There was a kid that needed to not qualify and was retaking the SAT and blah, 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 blah. But ultimately, I ended up choosing Northwestern, and I transferred there. But when I went to go talk to Bob Davie about it, the head coach, he's like, Cerasani, you could just disappear right now, come back in the winter. You still got 2 years left. You're never going to tell this story again. You start the next 2 years. No one's going to be like, hey,
it's irrelevant.
What happened to your sophomore year? He goes, but if you go to fucking Northwestern right now, and by the way, Bob Davie hated Northwestern because they embarrassed Notre Dame the year before. They won.
And there you have it.
There you go. And he still wants him to play.
And there
so he's
you
cooking
have
the
it.
story.
Yeah.
So the
19 years old.
thing is,
19 years old.
But Bob Davie he told me in no indirect terms. He's like, you leave, you're going to be telling this story when you're 40. Well, fucking 48.
And thank you for telling the story.
Here we are, buddy. Here we are. He also,
but everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
Well, and Davey actually gave me good advice as I look back on it too. You know, he had to kind of walk that line too, right? Because he can't come down on a kid and be like, don't transfer. You know, they have to give the release, and they're probably like ethically not supposed to interfere with that process. And he knew I got fucked. He knew knew this. I was the first kid under him to get in trouble. If Lou Holtz was still there, none of this
would have disappeared.
Lou Holtz would have probably kicked me out of spring ball. Bob Davie didn't.
Which
I thought was awesome at the moment.
But Lou had enough merit and enough wins under his belt that he could have gotten your back, and everyone would have fizzled out.
I think Lou Holtz would have been more proactive with it. As soon as it happened, he would have been punishing the shit out of me.
Yeah.
He already probably had a relationship with that kid's dad because the kid was on the damn team already. And again, the kid had no real business.
Don't worry, I took care of that Cerasani kid.
That's a great. He called me Cerasani. He was called Cerasani.
The Cerasani kid, I promise you, he'll never do this shit again.
So, you know, it's kind of a, I don't know. I guess you kind of can't really call it like a tragic story because I transferred to fucking Northwestern.
It's kind of a win.
Yeah, but
I'm pretty sure nobody's crying for you right now.
Well, and here's what Davey failed to realize looking into the future too. Well, he did say one thing that was spot on about. He goes, you know, you think the grass is greener? Because Davey was a defense coordinator at Texas A&M before he came to Notre Dame, and even at a big ass school like Texas A&M, he was trying to like make the point to me. It ain't like Notre Dame, man. It ain't like Notre Dame. And when you're 19, you think everything's like this, and it's not. It's not. And when I got to Northwestern, they had back-to-back Big Ten championships. We're opening up at Soldier Field against Oklahoma. This is a big freaking game.
Big
back to back. Dude, we get to the stadium's fucking half full. Like there's just not Northwestern fans. Not like
Notre Dame could have gone 2-9 and the stadium is filled.
Thank you. There's just not inherently Northwestern football fans. There's very loyal fans, and me being a part of that is kind of cool because it's a tight-knit community. Everyone kind of looks out for each other. But Notre Dame, there's probably very few schools, maybe Notre Dame, Ohio State, Michigan. I don't even know who else. Maybe Alabama. Like I don't know.
Georgia now,
maybe North Dakota State.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But even
the green and yellow, baby.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's schools that do it, but gotta look at Clemson. What you would have said a couple years ago that Clemson's.
You would have said Clemson.
But now that they're losing, I don't think that stadium is getting filled. No. Notre Dame could literally go 0-11, and their players are still getting stopped on the street, signing autographs.
Yeah, for sure.
That ain't happening at other places. It just ain't. You know what I mean? I remember when on my recruiting visit to Notre Dame, we're going downtown, or excuse me, at Northwestern, we're going downtown with fake IDs. We're going to this place called Martini Ranch, this bar on Chicago Avenue. And
Tim laughs because he's been there.
Dude, we're fucking standing in line. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, go tell them who the fuck we are. And they're like, what do you mean? Like, what are the? We're gonna say we play football at Northwestern. It's not gonna do shit here, buddy.
The best part about it is the Northwestern football players are like actually smart.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
And like they're smart, and then there's no acclimate, like they can't acclimate to anything on the streets.
Wow. Well, the thing about it, so the Northwestern football players, I always say this, and there's a guy named Randy Walker that actually took over. For
Randy.
Yeah. So he used to say this all the time. So I actually had 4 head coaches. I had Lou Holtz, Bob Davie, Gary Burnett, and then Randy Walker.
John, there's a common denominator here. I don't know what's going on.
He's just dropping names in the
big name dropper.
Yeah,
They all got promoted.
Big coaches.
But Randy Walker would say at best, is like, dude, we might have the very similar academic standards from an NCAA standpoint to get into the school. It's a little higher, but it's always like, okay, yeah, but of the top 100 picks, of the top 100 kids in the nation, we can't recruit, 87 of them because we need a 19 on your ACT where the NCAA is a 17. Okay, I got news for you, dude. Those 97 kids ain't picking fucking Northwestern anyways, dude.
No,
and it don't matter. It don't matter how good we are. It takes a special kid to want to go to Northwestern over Michigan State, over Iowa, over schools
There's
like
probably
that.
a lot of kids at Northwestern with a bit of a chip on their shoulder because they maybe got overlooked and they're like, you know what, I'm going to go here and we're just going to try and.
That was definitely in the 90s when they got good.
Yeah.
That whole team
Just
was
chippy.
that. But nowadays it's not like that. You got kids picking Northwestern that had good options. But what I'm saying is though, it's the creme de la creme. It's the kids that have that mindset where they see the value of Northwestern. Now it's one thing if this kid's going to Northwestern and he only had offers from the MAC schools. That's one thing. But you don't see that. You're getting a lot of kids that are picking it over Michigan State and Iowa and Clemson, even schools like that.
Yeah.
Okay, why are they picking Northwestern over that? Because intellectually they value the academics. So it doesn't necessarily mean they're smarter than the other kids that are at these other schools, but they value it more. You know what I mean?
The thing with Northwestern is it's the network that you come out with.
Oh, yeah.
It's the Chicago network. There's local kids that are going there. So
Like their journalism school.
Medill.
Yeah,
so
Medill's
I'm a
crazy.
fan of Northwestern. I've been a fan of Northwestern for the last 3.5 years because my buddy's son went there. Carmine Bastone, number 91.
Oh, cool.
And he was a local North football player.
St. Charles North.
St. Charles North.
Nice.
And he got notoriety, and you know how it is coming up from there, and then doing all the camps and going to see all the schools and everything else. And he was just super intelligent kid. Great family. And he just went to Northwestern because it was close. And basically he's studying engineering and he's a brain, like he's just all there and he's the whole package.
Cool.
And these kids that, now he's rubbing elbows.
So football was part of his life, not his life.
I mean, football for him is everything. And he's intelligent.
But he's
thinking about the future.
holistically.
Yeah. Listen, he had offers to go to a lot of different schools. And it was Northwestern as a preferred walk-on, and now he's the starting defensive end.
Oh, good for him.
And he's
That's
the captain
cool.
of the football team.
See, Northwestern historically Northwestern does a good job with those kinds of kids, man.
Yeah.
But now you got a freaking problem, though, man. But to your point, though, about what Northwestern does for you from a network standpoint, I do want to make one close out what I was saying earlier. Okay, so Bob Davie said that to me. You're going to be telling the story when you're 40, okay? But you know what else I get to do now that I'm in my 40s? You know what else I get to do? Depending on who my audience is. Where'd you go to college? Well, if I say I went to Notre Dame, people say, you must have been good at football. If I say I went to Northwestern, you must have been
pretty damn smart.
Exactly. Which would you rather be, bro?
You can't lose.
Would you be, bro? Well, and here's what's crazy about it. Notre Dame is right there neck and neck with Northwestern academically. And I know Notre Dame was just in a national championship, so it's not the best time to make this analogy. But if you look at like the last 25 years, Northwestern's right there win and loss wise with Notre Dame. Okay, Northwestern's had some really good seasons. Okay, so Northwestern's a little higher than them academically. Notre Dame's a little, maybe a couple notches higher football wise, but you can't argue they're both good in both, right?
Yeah.
But the overshadowing of Notre Dame from a football perspective.
Branding.
Yeah. Oh, you played football? You must be good at football.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're at Northwestern. Yeah, I played football at Northwestern.
Yeah.
They don't even hear the football part. Holy shit, you must have been smart.
Northwestern. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
100%.
I've been to the campus, so I don't know if that counts for anything.
So you said the national championship. It was so cool. It was in Vegas.
Yep.
We
Wait,
get-
this year?
So it would have been last year's against Nebraska.
Okay.
So we get there. Carm's playing.
Yeah.
It's like I've watched this. So I've got a shot.
the conference,
not the national championship.
The conference.
I'm sorry, the Las Vegas Bowl.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Like, what the fuck are you talking
like,
about?
no. You're like, this year.
Tim,
we'll just go with it.
Tim, are you in a time warp? Like, what's happening here?
We're done. This is over.
I thought he meant the Super Bowl because the Super Bowl's in Vegas last year.
We gotta start over, guys.
Do business with this guy.
One time I make a mistake.
But we have it on camera now, so I'm gonna make it into a clip.
So the bull was there with Nebraska,
Yep.
and it's cool. He's got the position, and he has a blowout game.
Nice.
He's got a 12-yard sack. He's got stopped the running back in the backfield a handful of times.
Tackle for loss.
And when I'm up in the stands, and I've been watching this kid because his pops had a shop next to our first location in downtown St. Charles.
Okay.
He's got a cigar shop.
Oh, cool.
And it's just a super cool family, grounded, the whole thing. But this kid, like you said when you're putting the headphones on, you're like, do you have a set of big? This kid's head.
Oh my god!
This kid's head.
A 10-fitted hat.
His head.
Yeah.
You just looked at him and you're like, you're gonna be special.
Yeah.
And
his helmet is a salad bowl.
Yeah.
With a mask on.
He's like, he's
giant.
And you when you're rubbing elbows with those guys in college and you're seeing all these things and these people that are coming in.
Yeah.
It's cool because he's in that now. And when you're watching him when he's 5 years old and all he wanted to do was play football,
Awesome.
and now he's at it. And he's 6'3", 6'4".
He's wide.
His arms are the size of my legs.
Well, I'm going to tell you what that kid's got going for him, man. Okay, so if he's built like that and looks like that, he's probably going to look like that still when he's 50.
Yeah.
And every day he's going to walk into an office and be in a business setting, and someone's going to say, "Oh shit, did you play football?" And then he's going to say, "Yeah, at Northwestern." And
Immediately
they put him in a different category too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I was with remember Gary Fensick, 85 Bears?
Yeah, for sure.
Walk past that guy 50 times and not know it's Gary Fensick. Like you don't look like a football player.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what I mean? And then guys that actually look like football players that are and Gary Fensick's huge in the business world. But you walk a guy that looks like a football player and is in the business world, you kind of dismiss it a little bit. Well, it's just because of his connections and he knows people. That's why they hired him, whatever.
Yeah.
But once you attach Northwestern to that, it goes out the window.
Yeah, he's where he should be.
Exactly.
So he earned. So if you've gotten this far into the podcast and you haven't followed John Cerasani yet, like what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Get on Instagram.
Yeah.
We're getting to 1 million after this episode.
Exactly.
A million followers. Let's go. What's wrong with you people?
Let's go.
All right. So that just went where it went. But let's. So now we're in Schaumburg. We go to Notre Dame. Now we're at Northwestern.
Yep.
We get this amazing degree.
Yep.
Where do we graduate to? Like, what's the first gig? What's the first job?
So up until the last game of my senior year, my job was going to be playing in the NFL. I was. Some guys had me as high as the 4th round. Most people had me 6th round-ish. That kind of place. And at the tail end of the year, I ended up doing something in my back where if it's a scary thing. You touch somebody in the head, and I would feel it like in my ankle.
Whoa.
So if you touched me up here, I'd feel it down here. And I ignored it for the last 4 games. I get invited to play in I don't know if they have it anymore, but it was on Christmas Day. It was called the Blue-Gray All-Star Game.
Oh, God, that was awesome.
Yeah, it's cool, right?
Yeah, now they call it the Senior Bowl, but back then it was the Blue-Gray, right?
Yeah, exactly. The Senior Bowl's a little bit different, but it was same idea.
They split the country in half, right?
So the Blue-Gray game back then used to be the All-Star Game for the kids on teams that didn't make bowl games.
Got it.
Okay?
Yes.
So if you get invited to play in that was a big feather in the cap, and it's looking like, hey, I'm going to be, hopefully drafted. If not, at least get an invite to a team.
Sure.
Blah blah blah. And I had to get a freaking physical a week before this damn thing. The season's been over now a few weeks, and the doctor just asked me, does everything feel normal? And I go, yeah, but I do this one thing when you touch me hard right here on my shoulder, I kind of feel a twitch in my ankle. I go, what?
Yeah. Oh, I also wet my pants and forget my name. So I don't know
where this goes.
I don't know if that's a thing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I just casually mention it, man. And you guys brought my dad up earlier, and it's rest in peace. But that's how my dad was. They go, I'm not going to clear you on this physical unless you go get an MRI on this shit. And sure enough, the MRI results came back, and it's me and my dad sitting there, and they're like, you ain't playing football anymore, man. And it's a contusion to my spinal cord. It's fine as long as you don't play football.
What exactly is a contusion? I hear that term often.
It's a bruise.
Okay. But
when you have it on your spinal cord, that means that area is weakening.
Got
okay.
it.
And this was in the barbaric days of football. Okay, so if I was going to make it to the NFL, I would have been on that damn kickoff return team or kickoff team for
the wedge,
sure.
The wedge.
That second and third string tight end, they're making their living on that special teams. Okay, and that would have been me if it worked out. And you're going headfirst into each other. So you
full speed.
And crackbacks were absolutely legal then.
Exactly.
You could do no problem.
Bro, when they changed the rule, like in 2009 or so, if I still have friends in the NFL, and they changed the rule, I go, dude, those guys aren't going to know how to tackle.
And John's like, send him my resume, I'm back.
I want you to go, so wait, you got to tackle with your shoulder and look at the guy. Every DB I played with at Notre Dame and Northwestern, they wouldn't even use their arms. They literally just come behind guys and hit them with the top of their head.
Yeah.
There's a 20-year, mark my words, there's a 20-year period.
Torpedo.
There's a 20-year period in football where it's the absolute freaking Stone Age. It went down because in the 80s and 70s, people didn't get it yet to use your helmet as a weapon.
Yeah.
Then in the 90s, they started using their heads as the weapon. Then that movie Concussion, the storyline from the movie Concussion happened. And then everything freaking changed. During that freaking 18-year period, dude, guys like me that played, freaking wild, wild west. Dude.
Oh, yeah.
Wild, wild west.
And by the way, that was some of the best football to watch. I hate to say it because I actually do care about human beings, but it was kind of like the steroid age for baseball. I kind of want you to hit a line drive through the pitcher's chest.
Exactly. Well, hockey, dude, that's the thing with hockey, though. They can't afford to pull it out because they won't get the viewership.
Yeah,
exactly. They can fight, just don't kill each other.
Keep fighting,
And that's the thing. So you're sitting in this doctor's room. This guy comes back. The white coat comes back. He puts it down on the screen, and he's like, hey, listen.
They just explained to me and that what the risk was. And at that point, it's me and my dad driving back. We're in Evanston at Northwestern Hospital, and we're just looking at each other. And then I have another conversation with the head trainer at Northwestern. And he could see it in my eyes that I was like toying with this shit in the back of my mind about still playing. And he goes, I think he kind of saw me hinting in that direction. He goes, the NFL teams call me to ask me stuff, and I got to disclose this. There was no, like, HIPAA wasn't really a thing yet. It was kind of a thing, but not to the degree. Yeah. So he's like, whether you give me permission or not, we have our credibility as an institution. We can't hide this from teams.
Yeah.
Well, word didn't really get out. It wasn't like I was Peyton Manning or something, right? So it's not like everyone's talking, Cerasani's not entering the draft. Yeah. But I would still get, we didn't have cell phones back then, so my landline would ring. I get calls.
Your pager would go off?
Bro.
Motorola?
So I'll never forget it. The guy from the Indianapolis Colts calls me. And this conversation was longer than other ones because I had mentioned earlier this guy named Paul Justin was actually a quarterback on the Colts. And we went to high school, and I go, hey, so do you know Paul? And we're talking, oh, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And Justin's awesome, blah, blah, blah. And anyway, I said, well, here's the deal, and I don't think I'm going to play. He goes, well, why? I go, well, I get this thing. He goes, oh, it sounds like a stinger because everyone gets stingers down their arms. And I go, no, I'd get it in my leg. He goes, oh, shit. You can't play. You're
not a stinger.
You're done.
Yeah, so that was like my last little, even after the coaches said that, even after my dad gave me his advice. And remember, I got a mom in a wheelchair. So my dad's probably sitting there looking like, fuck this. You're not, if don't do stuff where there's a chance to end up
So
in a
what
wheelchair.
did they tell you? So
that I'd be paralyzed the rest of my fucking life.
If you hit somebody, if you slid with your head.
They said, so this is a contusion. It means it's weakening there. It's weaker than everybody else's. You're doing damage to it. You couldn't really tell from the MRI exactly, but they could see the dimness or whatever.
Yeah.
And they said it could be the next hit, could be 1,000 hits from now, but you have a weak spinal cord, you're fucking it up. And you're going to be in the wheelchair the rest of your life.
So did they come back and tell you how this happens? Is it just by chance? Is it just Is it hereditary?
It was from football.
Okay.
Just repetition.
Yeah.
So getting hit.
So here's the one regret I have. And life's worked out for me, so I don't really have too many regrets.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Again, go to his Instagram
and see how it's worked out.
I mean, I'm literally fucking like gambling with people.
I'm really serious about this Instagram thing. You really need to go.
The one regret I have, or the one thing I wish I could do differently is Randy Walker, when he took over for Gary Burnett, he was smash mouth football, man. And he was one of the last of a dying breed. You don't even see it anymore. So we ran the damn ISO, okay, which was you handed it to the quarterback, a fullback's in front of him, you go through a hole, and that fullback hits the linebacker as hard as they can.
Like the Oklahoma drill, right?
Exactly, dude. And, the way Randy Walker coached it, dude, again, this was the barbaric years of football. We were going through fucking fullbacks left and right. They were getting concussions, but no. Well, there's another tight end on the team, me and him split time. we're into game 4. We're playing against Drew Brees at Purdue. Well, we got no fullbacks because they're all out with concussions. Because, like I told you, Randy Walker passed away, by the way, rest in peace. Yeah. But I'm telling you, he was a maniac, and it's his. I'm friends with his son and stuff. So if they hear this, I don't think what I'm saying.
He seemed like a scrappy dude.
Dude, he was. Listen, man, he got good football because they outworked people. That's how he would win. And anyway, when you're 6. They ended up moving me to fullback because we wanted to win football games, okay? We had no fullbacks left. We had 2 tight ends that were good. I move into the backfield. I'm 6'5", dude. like I'm sitting here running ISO blocks.
It's a lot of linebackers making business decisions.
Dude, exactly. I'm going against linebackers that are 6'1", okay, that have been playing it since they were 8. I'd been playing it since Tuesday. You know what I mean? And the thing about, for people that don't really understand it in the audience, when you have a block like that, you're running from about 8 yards apart right at each other, and you hit your heads first, okay? And leverage wins. So the low man is going to win. Whoever gets under the other person's pads, okay? Well, if you're going against a guy that's at least 4 inches shorter than you, and it always damn was. Some of these guys, I think Illinois' middle linebacker was like 5'10".
Yeah.
Okay, you get away with that shit at that position, okay? Stocky 5'10" that could power clean 400
Pat
pounds.
Mills.
Yeah. And anyway, so I started lowering my head and dropping my head, and that's a no-no to drop your head in football. If you hit somebody with the top of your head, your spinal cord's now in a straight line, and that's how you hurt it. So I'm quite positive that's how I heard it. You know what I mean? It wasn't hereditary or anything. It was from fucking playing fullback.
Yeah.
So that's
by
my
the way, that 6'1" linebacker is now 5'8".
Exactly. But my only thing is, like, at Notre Dame, though, because they're so deep on their roster, they never would have moved. They never would have moved me to fullback at Notre Dame. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But,
All right, so football's out of the question.
Yeah, football's gone.
I think we can all agree we're glad you didn't play.
Should I keep regressing to football stories every time you guys ask me something?
I think we're glad that you didn't continue to play football. So that's good. So where do you take this education?
Yeah.
And where do you apply this athletic competitive nature?
Yeah. So one of the advantages of going to school like Northwestern, and other universities probably have this too, but I was smart enough to actually utilize it, was when I found out that football was done, dude. Listen, man, this was my 5th year. It's December now of 99. I was supposed to graduate in May of 99. I have friends out there that have been working for 6 months now, kids I went to high school with, whatever, but I stayed that extra time for football. And now it's like, shit, I don't have a job. I'm not playing in the NFL.
Yeah.
What are we going to do here? So I went to Northwestern's Career Services Department, interviewed with everybody that walked onto that campus. I didn't care what the damn industry was or whatever. Ended up getting this interview in the insurance industry, and best thing that could ever happen, man. And cut to the chase, I had a job offer for about $45,000 from Anderson Consulting, which is now called Accenture. Okay, it was right before the Arthur Anderson debacle when they changed names and everything. Okay?
Wasn't that what's that thing that happened in Texas?
Enron, exactly.
Boom, little rebrand happened after that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This was the other end of it.
I've heard of that.
Oopsies.
Yeah. So I'll never forget. I had a job offer from them for $45,000. But then I also had this other job offer I was interested in from Great West Life and Annuity. Now, Anderson is based in Chicago. It's a name people have heard of. Hello. It's $45,000 a year.
It's Notre Dame.
Dude, everything. Exactly.
Yeah.
Great West Life and Annuity is this insurance branch of, they're based out of Denver, where they have a shitty little office in Rosemont. But in talking to the manager there, the guy's name is Don Mano, and you talk about mentors in your life or people that taught you some stuff.
For sure.
He's one of them for me. He goes, it's a $30,000 base, but you do this right, you'll be making $100,000 by year 2.
Sold.
Making
1998, 99?
Well, so I go back.
The 5th year was 99,
2000.
right?
It was 2000, yeah.
2000?
So I go back to Accenture and ask them, hey, how long do you think before I start making $100,000 here? Dude, a long time. You're going to cost of living increases.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or you're, waiting for a promotion.
6%.
Yeah.
Oh,
well, and what was also great about it, man, was it was like, I didn't know it at the time, but the insurance industry, dude, it's kind of like almost like realtors. You know what I mean? The level of entry to get into that space is low. So if you're a guy that's smart and you have business acumen and you're a go-getter and stuff, you could really thrive.
Sure.
Whereas like Accentures of the world, it would be tough, man, because you're going against pretty smart people, dude. They're high in the creme de la creme. You know what I mean? I who knows? Maybe I would have done great.
So you're going big fish, small pond action.
Exactly. And well, I didn't know. I thought I was the right size fish. I didn't really know. But looking back, it was that decision that really saved my ass, because I was able to pivot out in insurance, working with the same kind of clients and building my own practice and doing very well with it. Had I got, and I call that my paid training, working as a W-2 employee for someone else to train me for my future as an entrepreneur. And if I had that paid training at a place like Accenture, okay, where I'm working on fucking United Airlines and, Sears, you know what I mean? It's like, dude, are you really going to pivot out and get those kinds of clients on your own? Probably not. You know what I mean? Maybe I'm selling myself short, but I'm glad how everything worked out. I think I've been opportunistic. I really generated that energy I had towards football, towards being competitive in the insurance space.
Of course, you're a competitor. That's
call it super professional or not. That's a straight up hustle.
Yeah,
I mean you got to go find them. You eat what you kill. Yeah. Right. And then you gotta keep them in the game and service them and do all those things to build the relationship. But you learned a lot up to that 27-year-old age, right? That was your paid training time.
Correct. And insurance is very broad, right? Just like other industries are very broad. Oh, you're a lawyer. Well, what do you do? Do you do mergers and acquisitions for Fortune 500 companies, or are you a divorce lawyer? There's a lot of space, right?
And smarts.
Or do you do both?
Exactly.
Yeah, I can do anything.
I'm a general.
Take my card. Have you seen an ambulance?
Did you get a DUI? Did you do this? Yeah, I can handle that too.
So I, with insurance, what we were doing in the space I was learning, and people that aren't in this industry aren't really going to even understand it or know it exists, but corporations, when they buy their employee benefits, they're not going directly to Blue Cross. They're not going directly to MetLife. Okay, they're going through what's called a broker. Okay, well, Great West was a wholesaler, so we didn't call these employers, the CFOs and the HR departments directly. We would have to kiss the ass of the middleman, which is the broker, and convince him why he should put our clients with us rather than Cigna or United Healthcare.
And that CFO is going to trust that broker. That's who they have the relationship.
That's why they hired him in the first place.
Got it.
Yeah. So that's how it works with once you get to the massive companies like a United Airlines, they're probably not going to use a broker because they're going to have that
the leverage.
They're going to have the expertise within. They're going to hire somebody that worked in the insurance industry to be.
They got a whole department.
I get it. Yeah.
But for that middle market up to a couple thousand employees, organizations like that, this is how it works. And so at Great West, to get to what your next question was, to get at Great West, I learned to be a wholesale guy, but I'm kissing the ass of the broker as well. Those guys are the ones that really control shit. I'm the guy just saying, pick me.
Yeah.
And I got to convince them why. There's more to it than that. But wow, wouldn't it be cool to be a broker? And the brokerage firms that run the show are some names that are big in Chicago. So people might have heard of them.
Hub International.
Hub's a big one. Yeah, no, you guys know that.
Yeah. Gallagher.
Yeah. Gallagher.
Some of our clients.
Yeah.
Okay, are they?
Yeah.
Hub, call me. Michael Booth.
You know Michael Booth?
Yeah.
We know each other.
Yeah.
So Aon, all companies like that. So I transitioned out of the wholesale side. I got a job at Arthur J. Gallagher, and that's where really that's where the rubber really hit the road for me because of what my future was going to look like. Because I didn't know that I wanted to be an entrepreneur to that degree yet. I knew I have that entrepreneurial mindset, but I didn't know what industry. I thought, hey, maybe I'll start a franchise business or something like that. Well, at Gallagher, they're held in very high regard in the industry. Okay. Well, when I got there, I kind of realized it's like the fucking Wizard of Oz, dude. You pull back that curtain, there's nothing special going on here.
Yeah. There's no secret sauce.
It's just a bunch of people that are out there brokering other stuff. And yeah, maybe they have good people there or bad people there, like every organization. But it's like, dude, what the fuck do I need to work here for? I could just do this on my own, man. And
how long did that take you while you were there and you saw that?
Because
there's like that juice, what do they call it? Drinking the juice.
Yeah.
When you get there, all those
Kool-Aid.
The corporate Kool-Aid. You go in there, and the next thing you know, all you do is you just believe in what they're doing. You're so mesmerized is that 20 years goes by and you're like, oh, I guess I'll just retire.
That's right.
From there.
Yeah. I mean, it was about 2.5 years. But I had 3 years under my belt on the other side of the industry, right? But we're all still
that was key too, because you learn both sides, right?
Exactly, dude. And it was actually my training at Great West. That because they're old school. They sent us to sales training school, product training school. I get to Gallagher, dude. There's a bunch
Zig Ziglar,
dude, all that shit. And I get to Gallagher, dude, and it's a bunch of 40-year-olds that didn't have any of that training. And here I am looking up to these guys, and you know how like even now, like a 27-year-old kid comes and asks you a question, you kind of puff your chest. This is pretty damn cool.
Yeah. It's about time you asked.
Exactly. So it was a lot of that, and everybody liked me there because I was the guy with my eyes wide open asking questions. Well, after a while, you realize you know just as much shit as these guys.
The people you look up to aren't that smart.
Pretty much. They never went through the intense training I went through at Great West. Great West was the last of a dying breed where they actually sent us to their home office. We stayed there for 2 weeks. It was 8 hours of class. Companies just don't do that shit anymore, man.
No, they put you on a YouTube video.
Dude, seriously.
Like, fill out this jot form, click this. Well, you got a 70%. You got to do it again.
Well, or they go hire people from other fucking places thinking that they got the training.
Yeah.
And then before you know it, you got a 35-year-old that has all these years in the business that never was trained properly. That's the reality of the situation, you know?
So what was the What was the key that they trained you? Like, if you were gonna sum it up, your 3 pillars of sales.
I think the differentiator for me, it's specific to insurance, but what made me be able to compete in this space better than anybody that's in insurance right now is probably sitting on the edge of their seat waiting for this answer. And everybody else is like, "What the fuck are you guys talking about?"
Yeah. No, they tuned out a long time ago. Like, where is he on Instagram? I don't know.
There's a concept in health insurance called self-funding, and I knew the mechanics of health self-funding. I was able to explain it to clients better than really anybody. Even to this day, I think I could explain it with anybody. I can make a moron understand how self-funding works. It's a very complex funding mechanism for how employers pay for their health insurance, and I was able to explain the functions of that very, very effectively. And I think that was my.
They say that's the key to a communication is if you can take something super complex and make it simple.
Yep.
Like you're going to win every time.
I think that's exactly what it was.
The KISS method.
Yeah.
Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah. And this is a concept that's not that. I mean, I'm not even bothered in going on this path with you guys right now. But it's not a simple concept at all. So trying to keep it simple. And most brokers, like I said, Great West specialized in selling that shit.
Yeah.
So that's where I was able to look because I knew exactly how it worked.
Yeah.
Most brokers never bother to learn it. They're just showing rates on a spreadsheet. Oh, here's what United's going to charge you. Here's what Blue Cross is going to charge you, right?
Yeah.
You guys bought insurance before, just like your car insurance. They send you a spreadsheet. You know what I mean? This was different. And I think being able to, even if the client didn't want that, it gave me an opportunity to showcase how smart I am. You know what I mean? Holy shit, I've been dealing.
Yeah.
You know, they got these.
Because you're a subject expert.
Exactly.
Yeah. Thought
subject
leader.
matter expert. Well, you get these 50-year-olds that are so sick of dealing with insurance brokers saying the same shit to them. I'm the CFO of some corporation. I'm used to dealing with these freaking insurance guys. Fine, I'm going to take this meeting. And you get some 27-year-old kid that walks in that actually says some shit and
gives you the secret sauce.
Well, or they learned something.
Yeah.
They're not used to learning at these meetings. They're used to trying to be sold. You know, let me quote. You know what I mean? Now my approach is totally different. So.
What's your budget? That shouldn't be your opening line, maybe. Maybe that should be your opening line.
Dude, there's so many people that go to the same damn insurance sales schools, and it's so funny. They're like, oh, what keeps you up at night? You know what keeps you up at night? Get the fuck out of my office. Like, I don't want you here.
Cold callers.
So you're there for cold callers.
People I don't even know asking me questions.
People
like
calling a lot. And,
some people ask me for meetings. I don't like that.
I'm not a big fan. So you got
Did you just ask
2
me for a meeting?
seconds.
So here, you're there for...
When I get those kinds of calls, by the way, to this day, I'll like give like some bizarre answer. Well, there's mosquitoes coming in the window.
Off the wall.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're there for 2.5 years.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to think about the mindset that you have and then the risk. So there's tolerance, right? So when you're young and like we say dumb, right? Because I'm 45.
Okay.
And so if I knew what I knew now and what I could risk to lose what I have now, I would have never started a business. Because I had no clue that you have to sign everything away.
Yeah.
Until you get out of it. I just got out of it 2 or 3 years ago. I think that my house is still my house.
Okay, you took financial risk like that.
Oh,
okay.
I took huge financial risk.
Yeah.
I built it like the Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
Like I had an office probably the size of this, and it was like me and 2 people.
Okay. Well, I
think the hard thing for
I
you-
built it to
Yeah.
then bring these people in and say, here's what we're doing, and offer them something because I had the vision. But if you were to tell me that I'd have to have meetings with bankers,
Right.
and I'd have to do this, and this,
Yeah.
I mean, there was things that I needed to do that I would never have done.
I think the hard
ever.
part too is you chose initially a business that's very commoditized.
Yes.
So it's really hard to set yourself apart.
In 2008,
Like-
which was the greatest time to start a business.
Oh no, that was phenomenal.
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, it was great. My
Yeah.
dad's like, "You're dumb." I'm
Yeah.
like, "Okay, can I get 10 grand?"
Now you're really dumb.
So you had to buy your products before you sold them,
My first order was $150,000.
and you hadn't sold one. You go,
Not one, but I needed something in the office so that people could come in. When I made those calls to get an appointment from the people
Yeah.
that don't like to do appointments,
Yeah.
and I get the one, and he's got to come in, he's got to see the product.
Yeah.
So your first order with Toshiba from Kennedy Cross, shout out to Kennedy Cross. I don't even know if he's in the industry. He was a great guy.
It's a big follower.
But
that
that's a
gets shit done.
story too, because we had a spot in Rockford
Okay.
next to a lover's lane that I had to tint out in a strip mall, and he had to come to to sign us up. He's like, well, we got to know that you have an office, this and that. I had some of my hockey buddies sitting in front of plastic Best Buy monitors.
So none of
with
your
no
employees
TVs.
have front teeth. What's going on with that?
That they had no idea what's going on, and we went out for a bunch of beers afterwards.
Yeah.
But you had to buy 150 grand. That was
Okay.
your first opening.
Yeah. It's the nature of that business. A lot
Yeah.
because of what you just said too with the commodity. See, my situation when I look back, I don't have those kinds of regrets. So because people will ask me a lot, even in like DMs or something, hey, what would you do different if you had to do it all over again? And there's a couple things. Like I probably would have left Gallagher about 6 or 7 months earlier. I kind of wasted time there for 7 months. Could have got a head start there. But not a whole lot, dude, because all of that shit that I did made me learn the stuff I know right now.
Yeah.
And I never would have learned it otherwise.
For a
You know what I
reason.
mean?
It happened for a reason.
Yeah.
You know, I've had the luxury of talking to folks that are entrepreneurs and experts, and there's not a lot of shame and regret that I hear.
Yeah.
It's a lot of, there's not a lot of woulda, coulda, shoulda. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, well, it did it, and I'm glad that I did because,
Yeah.
well, look where I am
And
now.
then you ask them something, you ask them about luck, right?
Yep.
You go, how did luck rank into what you did to start your business? And now 15, 16, 17 years later, you're this. Or for you, you had the exit.
Yep.
And how long were you in the business before the exit?
Yep.
And were you even planning on doing it? I know the answer, but I'm asking for the viewers. I know that you did this, but to go back and then to get further, my thing is that you started this business by yourself.
Yep.
You started it with nothing.
Right.
You didn't take any loans.
Yep.
It was IP, intellectual property in your head that you knew a system that not a lot of other people or were just too lazy to know.
Right.
And that you exploit is not the right word. You develop
It's an okay word.
I say exploit and opportunistic. They're usually negative.
opportunistic. Thank you.
You know,
that was it. Thank you.
Both of those words, though, usually have negative connotations.
Yeah,
I use
I don't
them
like that.
positively.
You exploited
Yeah.
your strength.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
turned it into the differentiator.
Yeah,
right?
people think I'm putting myself down when I use those words, and dude, I'm not a linguist, so maybe I am. But from the streets, here's what I
I'm
mean.
sorry.
Here's what I mean, motherfuckers.
I'm sorry. What does linguist mean?
That's a Northwestern word.
Yeah, exactly.
I went to
use-
Western Illinois University.
If I can't spell it, I'm not using it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I didn't want to
Linguist
go to
sounds like
school.
there's a Q in it. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
Spell it.
We say linguist at Western. You guys say word person.
yeah.
It was in Macomb, bro. I went to Macomb.
He spoke really good.
Yeah, that was funny because I was supposed to get into sales because my dad wanted me to get in insurance sales.
Yeah.
He worked for New York Life Insurance.
Okay.
And he worked there for 30 years. And he's like, oh, you could always get into insurance. I'm like, I see everything he did. He traveled all the time. He was never at, anything that was going on, but then he was always at everything that was going on. So you never
Yep.
knew what was going to happen because
Yep.
his schedule changed all the time. But it was more of the point when, if you made your mom upset, it was like, wait till your father gets home. And it would be like 3 days later and you forgot what happened. But yeah. But
Is he
back
coming
then,
home?
there was a thing called like capital punishment.
I'm gonna take my shirt off while you guys are talking.
Wow.
it's like 200
This is
degrees.
awesome. Hey, just look into that camera right there.
YouTube guys. I get blood earlier.
All
Oh
right.
yeah, you did say that.
Not,
You did
it's
say.
not
What a-
X from heroin. It's I get blood.
I could have
Yeah,
loaned
good.
you a couple bucks if you.
You need to sell the plasma?
Jeez. Wow.
How are things going?
Insurance industry is really struggling.
But they
guys giving blood over here.
So they said that, I could have gone into the insurance, but I just didn't want that. I don't know if I wanted that lifestyle, but now it's even worse. My dad's like, you work more than I've ever worked. Yeah. He's like, so whatever. But my thing is that you knew that for 2.5 years, and then you just called it. You just you woke up in the morning.
Yeah, there was signs along the way. Okay, man. So listen, we didn't have Blackberries weren't even really a thing yet. I didn't have a laptop. Okay, so there'd just be situations where I'd be going into the office on the weekend because I'd want to get on my computer to do shit, and I'm the only person there, man. I'm the only person there, and I get to the office at 7 in the morning. No one else is there, dude. 5 p.m.
Ever.
5 p.m. on a Friday, nobody else is there, and that's not how it was at Great West Life and Annuity. Dude, you walk at 4:59 p.m. on a Friday. Everyone's still on their computers. They weren't even shutting that shit down yet, and I think I just developed. I think it was a combination of learning that the football mindset translates into the workforce because it was at Great West. Whereas, dude, I'd see it at Gallagher, man. And guys, by the way, I'm friends with people at Gallagher. I had a funny thing with their COO, and we bumped into each other at a Cubs game, and I talk about Gallagher on my page sometimes, and it was kind of like, hey, chuckle, and whatever. And
look, your sign.
Exactly. Well, me and him were like young guys. This particular person has the last name of Gallagher, so we were like young guys. He was on the property casualty side. We knew of each other this whole time.
Yeah, sure.
But he's an executive now, and whatever. They do good things over them. They've changed a lot of things, by the way, in the last 20 years, by the way, too. What was it? Where was I?
You were telling you that there was a lot of changes. You didn't have a laptop.
People didn't have the work ethic.
The work ethic, the sports.
Yeah. So Gallagher on their benefits side would have this internship program where we'd bring in these interns, and then they'd end up getting a job with us after they graduated college. And at that time, I'm sure it's great now, but at that time, it was the worst thing that could have happened for these kids because they're coming out, hanging out with us, and we're taking them to happy hours. We're going golfing.
And that's how they think it is.
Dude, exactly, brother, exactly. And I'm quite certain that's changed a lot since then. But how blessed was I that I worked at a company like Great West that shit didn't fly with.
You knew that wasn't the case. You worked for that.
Exactly. What if my first job was at Gallagher? I would have just thought this is how the industry works, and this whole mindset I have ain't gonna fly here, dude. I better go get a side hustle outside of insurance because no one works hard in insurance. That's what I would have.
So I'm lucky just to be in the room here. So I just want to clarify that. So I'm not gonna try and compare myself in any way, shape, or form to the two of you. But I was blessed to come up at a company that was just like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Like you got in at 6.
Yep.
And it was like, how many phone calls it's noon. How many phone calls you make so far?
Yep.
They're like 250.
Right.
Like shit, I'm only at 230. Right. And then it was like, how many calls could you make? And it was like, I'm on my 4th deal. Dude could have gone home. He made like 4 deals by 2:00. He's already made $5,000, and he stays till 7.
Yeah,
so like just because we had like a retroactive bonus where if you got to a certain number, the bonus went all the way back. And so now this whole narrative that I see, I'm on LinkedIn like constantly, and there's this narrative about life balance and everyone like, oh, don't put it all into the company, right? You got to make sure you take time for yourself and all this stuff. And it's such a lie that all these influencers, these business influencers that, by the way, make $3 million a year and control their own destiny. Yeah. And they're telling 25-year-olds like, you should have work-life balance.
PTO.
No, you shouldn't have work-life balance. Yeah. Right now, it's all work.
Yeah.
All work. Then when you get going, then you can maybe have some balance.
Yeah. So the thing was that
that's funny.
So like what you had said, that's how it was. So I came in, I got a job selling copiers right out of college from a guy that had a small $12 million company, turned into 156, sold out for $500 million.
Would you go sell copies to businesses?
Yes.
Dude.
On the door.
That's the hardest job. I almost took a job with, I think, was Magnavox a company? What would you, Konica Minolta or? Maybe it was Minolta.
Yeah.
Dude, it was fucking good. It was 100% commission based.
Oh, yeah.
They wanted me to just show up at businesses trying to sell printers.
That's
Dude,
how
I go, if anyone could make it in that job, that's the hardest job in America.
Yeah. That's how I started out. Straight commission selling small business consulting.
Oh my God.
Go to a $5 million masonry contractor and like knock on the door and be like, I can help you increase your profit. He's like, dude, I got a Ferrari right there. Like,
it's like, okay,
you just pulled up at a Tercel. Like, what are you talking about?
you're 24.
What are you
Okay,
talking
little
about?
buddy.
What are you talking about? By the way, tie your tie properly. What's going on? The knot looks terrible.
The best part that you said though is that you would get into the office and like from when I started, I got out, I graduated in 2001, and I got into this, and I just went to I wore my dad's suit. Like it was like too broad. My dad was like 6'3". It was like this big. I was like 100, and I'm like, trying to working from Bed Bath and Beyond.
Oh yeah.
By the way, I punched that guy in the nose.
Shit.
Well, you guys have something in common.
Yeah. So my thing is that when I went there was all these guys making a bunch of money.
Yeah.
And it was selling copiers, and I'm like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And they were there at night. They were there in the morning.
Always.
So when I'd come in at like 8 o'clock or like 7:45, 15 minutes early, half hour late.
Yeah.
You like this, the people are there.
Oh yeah.
You're like, okay, so what do you do? 7:15. The people are there. You're like, what do I have to do to beat this guy?
How do I do
to get
that?
in? 5:30.
Yeah, that was it.
I'm waking up at 4:15.
So
And I'm like, So
Yeah.
now what's my schedule? 4:15.
Yeah.
The grind. It starts the grind.
That's right, man.
So I go to the first day of this small business consulting firm. I pull in the parking lot. I thought I pulled in a Motorola.
Okay.
Like it was just like Mercedes, BMW,
Really?
like, and I'm in a
Yeah.
Pontiac, like the Pontiac GT. I think I'm pretty cool, right? I got the Pontiac GT, is BMW, Mercedes. The guy had a Ferrari.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay, this is different. And
Yep.
same thing. I would get there at 6. I'm like, why are there 12 cars in the parking lot?
Yeah.
Like, what is happening right
Yeah.
now? And you'd leave at 8, and there was somebody like, well, I'll put the lights out.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
You're leaving?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember getting in my office and like the old guys, okay, there was a guy named Mike Baker and a guy named Jerry Eller. They were the old guys and they were like probably 28, 29 years old. And those guys were making like 300 grand. I just remember thinking to myself, holy
In early
shit,
2000?
dude. Yeah. Dude, holy shit. These are making 300 grand, dude. And that's a lot of money now. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But like especially
Back
back
then?
then, 28-year-old, get the hell out of here. So I'm like, dude, my dad, I told you what he did for a living. Back then he was making 80 grand. We thought my dad was
And your
rich,
mom
dude.
worked at the Park District, right?
Exactly, dude. And we lived in a nice subdivision in Schaumburg called Spring Cove, which was probably the nicer part of Schaumburg. We thought we were kind of well off. We went on vacation to Hawaii, dude. Yeah. My dad makes 80 grand a year. Yeah. And we're doing all this shit. We could go to Hawaii
And he's
every
like
year.
a local celebrity. He's the dick of Schaumburg.
Dude, I'm going to be able to make 300 grand. You fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
By the way,
Let's go.
you look back at what your house cost, and my parents bought it because my dad got transferred I grew up in Indiana, Griffith, Indiana, across the border.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Played for a kid, one of the fullbacks that I mentioned that got hurt at Northwestern and was a fullback from Griffith, Indiana.
Yeah.
There you go.
Wait, you're 45?
Yeah.
Mike Sherry. He's probably your age.
Yeah, no, I moved out of there when I was 6 years old.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I went.
what's the problem? You don't
So I
remember
went,
Mike
no.
Cherry?
But the point was that
did
my
you track?
no, I didn't go back to. I mean, I just went there to get. Yeah, that's another story. So we moved in, and I was like 6 years old. So it was like 80. What it must have been 85. The Bears. First thing that we had was a party. We watched the Bears win the Super Bowl.
Oh, weren't you fortunate? You move in, the Bears win the Super
Bears
Bowl?
won the Super Bowl.
Boom.
So my thing is that from when that was, you look back at like when your parents, because you never really knew how much your dad, like until you get older and you're making a living, can you actually even ask your father, hey, by the way, Pops, what did you kind of make around ballpark? I'm not asking.
Right. Yeah.
Because you don't want to get,
Yeah.
So he's like, it was like 97 grand for my dad.
Yeah.
Right. But you bought a house in Hoffman Estates right next to my Holy Family Church on Ela and Palatine.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I'm with brother.
And so we lived right there. Yep. It was $112,000.
No way.
Jeez.
And mortgage rates at the time were like 11%.
Yeah, those were halfway decent houses over there too.
Yeah, I mean, from where we came from in A-frame and Griffith, Indiana, that the house cost $39,000.
Yeah.
This was like a mansion.
Yeah.
Dad made it.
Yeah, we made it. We rolled into the thing with our with the Celica or a Toyota Corolla, and we're like, great. This. In the meantime, the guy's got 2 boats and snowmobiles and everything else across the street.
Yeah,
we're like, we don't have anything like that.
We don't have that yet.
But that's the thing that you ask your father how you did it, and like 80 grand, and mom working at the Park District, and this and that.
Yep.
And how much your
saved.
father worked, because now you have to realize something. The head coach of a football team and what his work ethic was is that he, first of all, he had to be there. So he's high. So
12 and a half
when you were
hour.
growing up, he was the head foot.
Always. Yeah.
So he was. That's all you knew.
Yeah.
High school opens up at like 5:15 in the morning.
Yep.
So if you're, and he was a teacher, correct?
Yeah, and he would do extra shit, especially in his later years before he retired, because the way the Illinois pension system works for teachers is that they take the average, I might not have it exactly right, but they take the last 3 years you worked there, take the average of those 3 years total compensation, and that's what your pension's based on until you die after retirement. So he would be doing crazy shit.
Driver's ed teacher.
Well, he was doing that. He was doing that anyways. But even crazy, you get up at 5 a.m, go start the buses to warm up the buses for the bus drivers. Get a couple extra buses. I'm up anyway. Might as well do that. You know,
100%.
Like shit like that. But his big thing was coaching football to the point you were making. They make about. It's maybe higher now, but he's probably making $8,000 coaching football, and that.
Yeah, and then the teacher salary was.
And the football coach, dude, is too high profile. That guy, you can't blow that job off. You got
to be there every time, and then you got to talk to all the parents. You got to. I mean,
and it's always on your mind. It's always on your mind.
Yeah. So that's
we'll
where
fact
work
check it.
ethic.
We'll call Iron Mountain. It's down. Down there. They'll go down by hand and pull it out.
But the whole point of what we were talking about is like when you see these guys come to the office, if you've got that type of push or that type of mentality in sports, and that's why we have a lot of sports people on here and everything else, is because the grind starts for you. The grind started when your father woke up.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know you, but I'm telling you, when he woke up, you woke up.
Right.
When he was in the car, your ass was in the seat already.
Yep.
Like you had that push already, so you grew up doing that.
It's not like
it's not like it was anything to ask you to get to the office an hour early.
Right. That's a good point. That's a really good point, man.
Because you grew up doing this.
And I don't know about you guys, but I've always looked at life like, you know, like what everyone's definition of success should be a lot different, right? Because we all have different starting points. You know what I mean? So like when I look at my dad, him going to college and becoming a high school gym teacher, that was a huge.
A home run.
My grandpa was a carpenter, as an immigrant from Italy. They lived in River Grove and 1.5 bedrooms. They had 5 kids in there. You know what I mean? It's like so. My dad going to college and being a teacher. It's a huge step up. You know. Now I think I'm doing something that goes to the next level, right? And I hope my kids go. You know, you keep going up from there. Hopefully, I think, you know, I try to position my good, because I picked up, my dad was a gym teacher. Well, what'd you learn from your dad? A shitload. A shitload, including everything you just fucking said. You know what I mean? So I you know, you look at your kids, you can't really predict everything, but my daughter's 21 and she's probably not on that path, but you know, she wants to be a mom and that kind of stuff, which is good for her. And my son, I could definitely see doing something big with his life and business.
Because he's got he's seen the hustle.
Exactly.
And I knew I read something.
Now my daughter likes to play blackjack. My daughter likes to play blackjack.
But by the way, your daughter's going to go into being a mom with the attitude of, I'm going to be the best mom.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Exactly. That's it. So it doesn't matter what your gig is. Just try and be the best.
Maybe not for a few more years though, honey.
Yeah, let's not do that.
It's not even worth. Yeah, I can't even think about it. So here's the deal. So how long from the time that you start to the time that you did your business?
Yeah.
And then to walk me through, because this is where I know a lot, and it's like I love listening to these stories. So you start it, and then you start going a little bit, and then tell me from the time that you started to the time that you hired the first employee.
Good question. So so I started in April or July something of 2015. And I was able to get business relatively quickly, and I probably didn't get at first, I think I brought in an employee as an assistant.
Sure.
Like in 2007, and it was stupid because I went and got office space. I hired her as my assistant, but you got to realize the clients I was working on were high-level consulting like types of clients. So I get a college as a client, and I'm making $50,000 a year on it. How much am I actually going to delegate to that? And I learned a lot there.
They were buying you.
Exactly, dude.
You couldn't tell someone to go there. Can you just take this meeting?
Yeah, exactly, dude. And I was being cheap anyway. I still remember, dude. I got my revenue up to like 1.2 million. So at that point, it was like $700,000 or $800,000. And then I decided, you know what, dude, this poor girl, she just graduated from college. This isn't a good job for her. She's not learning anything. It's awkward with us both in this office. So then she left, and I'm like, I don't need this fucking office space. Got out of that fucking lease. Ended up working again for my house, but I learned a lot in those 4 months she worked for me. It's like, dude, it was taken away because I'm now trying to find stuff for her to do. You know what I mean? I'm going into the office, spending money by the office even existing, driving over from my house to be there. Fuck that. I used to roll out of bed. Let's go. Let's go.
Absolutely.
So I didn't hire another employee until I was at like 1.2 million in revenue with like all of it profit because I like besides my gas and
no
the
labor costs and it was
Yeah.
just like expenses.
So the last few years I started to scale, and people don't really realize I had such a good niche working with colleges and universities that I'd go to trade shows, I'd get referrals, and you know, again, the average account size was $50,000 plus. So there's just not like, you know, I had developed a very, very well polished machine. And
I want to catch this here for a second because one thing that you talked about was the larger brokers were going to these same universities and businesses, but they were telling a story of how large they were.
Oh, yeah, that's what
and how many locations they had.
Yeah.
And how many people they had. Yeah. And you said, okay, so is that really the reason why people are buying? Like,
the office
is some
in Tokyo?
school in Iowa care that there's an office in Tokyo and Brazil? Like, is that even relevant to the college in Iowa? So how long did it take for you to identify that differentiator?
Yep.
Structure the pitch.
Yep.
Right. And then go in there as the expert, right? The topic expert.
So there'd be really two things you'd have to overcome when you went into those meetings as a smaller broker versus the big dogs like a Gallagher or an Aon. And the first is, if the client already doesn't understand that, you need to make sure they understand this, that there's no leverage from the broker on the insurance carriers. Everybody's getting the same rate on the employee benefits side, at least the health and life insurance side, which is a misconception. And you're not even going to hear the Marshes or the Aons, which are the big dogs, say that they can, because it's categorically false. You can't. It's not how it works, okay? So you got to make sure the client understands that, because I think sometimes they're just under the misconception that they're getting something that they wouldn't be getting otherwise because they're working with that particular broker. Not the case at all. The second thing is then when you get into the nuts and bolts of the service structure that the big dogs have, that bullet point checklist. Hey, look at all this crap that we have. They're going to list stuff that really have nothing to do with your account. Okay.
So in other
words, it would be like somebody puts a bid together with the line items, and they're like, these are all the line items that are justifying our costs, but really 70% of those line items are just a lost leader that they're just throwing in there to make it look like they're doing something.
So a lot of times we would just get commissions from the carrier. So the cost wasn't even really necessarily the driving factor. It was on some accounts, but a lot of times it's not in this space. And there's people listening right now. Well, actually, no shit, guys. I'm not going to waste their time explaining it. Okay, everyone relax. All right. Yes, I got it, guys. No shit.
There's going to be a 2.0. Okay, so we'll do a live stream. We'll have a live chat. Dude, you can swear at John all you want.
There's a fucking senior account manager at fucking Hub right now. Well, actually, we bid pricing only, and we're very transparent. Shut the fuck up, dude. Shut the fuck up. Anyway, sorry, guys.
This goes off. I love it.
Anywed, here's the deal. I just had a little argument.
It'd be nice if you were a little bit more passionate.
A little argument
this
with
is
myself.
A super boring episode.
Who's he arguing with?
Yeah, seriously. I've looked over my shoulder.
I just made up an employee. In here? I made up an employee at Hub. I have no problems with Hub whatsoever. By the way.
So we'll go back.
Sorry, Hub.
Hey, we'll go back to that word that you said. Is you exploited that whole thing.
So the thing is, the price would never be the driving factor. So people would just talk about their resources in order to get this business. And some of it is what you talked about with the international offices. What does me having an office in Tokyo have to do with how good I'm going to service this account? Yeah. What is the bullet point that we have 30,000 employees and 250 offices nationally? Who gives a shit when only 2 employees are doing anything on your freaking account? Okay, so you get them to wrap their mind around that. Okay, and then there'll be other things like we have a full-time actuarial department on staff. Dude, you guys have 400 employees. You don't need actuaries to do anything on your account. You don't. These are all just like bells and whistles that really are meaningless for that middle market. So I that would be my point to try to make it to the buyer.
So it was almost like you were getting them off of the idea of buying the brand.
Yep.
And getting them onto the idea that even if they bought that brand, they were really only buying 2 people. Yep. So why do you need the big brand name?
You're paying for
when
it.
you could come with me and I'm going to run through a wall. And by the way, you probably like me better than you like that person. You're just thinking the big brand that actually is not doing what they.
That's precisely the case. And sometimes I could even dig deeper on it, being like, hey, listen, man. You got a guy, let's say somebody, I usually wouldn't go this direction, but sometimes we would. And I'd try to get them to have this mindset at least. Hey, you want a person that makes $400,000 a year that has the capabilities or the intellect to make $400,000 a year to be your main guy on this account? All right. $400,000 guy a year at a company like mine, he's going to only have a handful of accounts he needs to work on. At Gallagher or Marsh, that guy's on 50 accounts.
Yeah.
He's going to be delegating everything he can to people underneath.
So you're getting junior after junior after junior. Sure. You're not getting the real.
For sure.
You're not getting the starter.
For sure. And, here's the thing, man. Pretty relatively early in the conversation, because what you're up against is no one gets fired for hiring Aon. No one gets fired for hiring Gallagher.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's the brand, right? You hire the brand.
Yeah.
But if you want a better experience, somebody's probably going to want to go for
I think it's a lot similar
speedboat.
to like the same thing that like, I mean, it's copiers and printers. There's so many of them out there. But the reason that most people went with me is because it's me.
They bought you. That's what we keep going back to. We keep saying people buy from people.
Well, they could call my cell phone. They get me. Like yesterday, for GSD, one of the business owners was like, "Hey, my laptop locked out," and I'm like, "Oh," I'm like, "Hang on a second." I haven't taken a call like that in a long time. But when I did, I was kind of shocked. I did. Well, I was kind of shocked that it came to me. Because they can get a hold of them anytime, and I'm like, "Yeah, hang on 1 second." It was 2 seconds, and the guy's like, "You're the best." And like that's why he's like, "That's why we go with you." So that's the cool thing. That's cool. To have that type of service.
Well, and you're at the point now, which is where I was at towards the end for me, where before I sold, where you have the best of both worlds, because now you have a client list that you get credibility from. All right. So I don't know your industry well enough, but let's just pretend CDW offers what you got.
Sure.
And you're trying to sell this buyer, and they never heard of you. Well, that COO still reports to whoever that operations person is that you're selling to or whatever, still has a president and an owner that he has to justify what he does with. Hey, we picked CDW. They fucked up. Okay. We picked you guys and they fucked up. Why the fuck did you hire them? You know what I mean?
But they're not going to say that about CDW.
Right. And now though, because you're mature in your freaking company, which I was towards the end, here's why we hired them. Because they work with A, B, C, D, E, our competitors, and you know this shit inside and out. I don't know how they fucked this up. My bad. Let's just fire them. Let me keep my job. You know what I mean?
For sure. Absolutely. I just think it's and I know the insurance business a little bit just because my father and everything else. So you get to this point where you're, and you don't have to tell the numbers or whatever. You get to a ballpark point of having revenue of, let's say, X of 15 million. Okay. So you get let's just use 10. So, because it's easier to multiply. So you use a 10X, or you use, you're doing $10 million. You've got how many employees did you have at the top? Like, what do you, like?
Well, that's a long conversation, but just,
So you're selling a 10X in the industry that you're in. They give you a multiplier, and you've heard that other people that have done this, number one, because you're like, oh, somebody started a business and then they sold out for 2 or 3 times or whatever it was, right? Because then there's a thing called monthly recurring revenue, and people don't understand that it's the gift that keeps giving, and it's the monthly recurring revenue that gives you a higher multiplier in a service-based. Okay, all of them are service-based. Okay, so when you get this, and all of a sudden the next thing you look at, and you're like, okay, I'm at 10 million. Okay, and all of a sudden they go, we're going to give you a 9X. Because you're going to contractually obligated to these customers paying you monthly for 2
years, for 3 years,
5 years,
5 years, whatever the number is.
So the next thing you know is you're like, oh, okay. And oh, by the way, your EBITDA, earnings before income tax and depreciation, amortization, is
show off.
What? No. So you go like this. So I don't like using acronyms without explaining them. So to this guy.
I just say net profit.
Net profit. Okay. So and the thing is that you're paying all these employees. You've got a building. You've got cars and trucks and everything else. So it takes away from the top line and then your cost of your employees. So at the very end of the day, that you're selling $10 million. If you've got a 15% EBIT, right? At the end of the day, you're taking away $1.5 million. If someone wants to buy you, that's $13.5 million. In the insurance industry, just out of curiosity, because in this, right where we're at right now, before 2019, there was an offer for 5.5 times the number. I didn't go with it. I should have gone with it.
Before top line or bottom line?
Bottom line.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, your earnings at the end of the day was X. It was December the year before COVID. So COVID hit in March. I had this whole thing. I'm like, oh, why could I do this? I'm going to do this for another 8 years and it'll be X.
Was it private equity?
Yeah, it was private, of course.
Yeah, insurance is going way higher.
Okay. So there's a book. That's my whole point, is that I was, I know my friends and everything else that have done this, but you have a book in this, and it's the monthly recurring revenue
that's what they
want. Ridiculous
because they know it's coming in.
So at the point that my question is, you're doing this for how long? Right? How long were you doing it for?
9.5 years.
Okay, for your own business. And in 9.5 years, did you ever, when was the first time you heard of someone selling their business?
So private equity invaded the space, and I had heard about it, but what I didn't realize was that the business model had changed, because I sat in a mergers and acquisitions thing years prior.
Sure.
And the model was that strategic buyers like Gallagher and bigger competitors are coming and buying little guys. And the model was 1.5 to 2 times gross revenue. Okay.
Gross.
So your people that are the business-minded people are going to really appreciate what I'm going to say next year. So that 1.5 to 2 times gross revenue was the model back in 07, 08. Okay. Well, the industry average for profit margin was around 20%. All right. So if I sell something for 2 times gross, and it's a 20% profit margin, that's 10x EBITDA or 10x net profit roughly. You guys follow me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay? So fast forward. Okay. This motherfucker right here had a profit margin that was way better than the industry because I didn't have agents. Okay, I just built this thing myself, and I used marketing people with these colleges and universities, and I was as slim as I could be. We're at an 80% profit margin. Okay, so now, now listen, everybody, and we're and it's not like I had 400 grand. We're
things were happening.
Yeah. So I'm at an 80% profit margin. Now I'm thinking, why isn't everybody? So private equity enters the space. They're making offers at 10x EBITDA, okay, roughly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at this guy at a meeting. We're at freaking Mastro's in Chicago, and he says this to me. Okay, 10x isn't the exact number. I'm under an NDA. I'm not supposed to talk about it, but 10x-ish. He says to me that this is what they're doing. I'm thinking to myself, this guy is so fucking stupid. There's no way they're paying me that much because he's just assuming in his head that I'm probably at that 20% profit margin. He has no fucking idea.
Yeah, that's the...
Lo and behold, private equity didn't care. And then they come in and make that offer. So why isn't this on the headlines everywhere that private equity is doing this? Well, it wasn't because it wasn't that big of a deal to everybody else because everybody else is at that 20% profit margin.
For sure.
So if the model goes from 2 times gross to 10 times EBITDA, it's the same fucking difference.
Yeah.
You follow me?
Yeah.
But for a guy like me with an 80% profit margin, this was a huge deal changer. Okay.
Yeah.
So I get that call in 2015.
You were the outlier of every other private equity acquisition would come in and say, okay, we're going to go get ABC company and they've got the 18.5%. Then we're going to go get ABC or XYZ company and they got 22.5%. So the two of them are going to kind of equal out, and then we're just going to kind of pay you whatever it is. And then all of a sudden you're this outlier. So the time that they signed with you to give you that LOI or whatever to start doing the due diligence.
Yeah. Well, they knew at that point. Before they made the offer, it was $1. It wasn't, the multiple wasn't in the letter. The actual dollar amount was in the LOI. But it didn't matter. What you just said though, it didn't matter because they all they cared about was the multiple, which is closer to 10 times than 5 times, let's say, of your EBITDA, of your profit margin.
Sure.
They didn't care about the profit margin. They cared about the dollar of EBITDA, and that was going to be their offer. Now they put things in place that we're going to make sure that, hey, listen, we're holding this money back for year 2. You got to work here for 5 years.
The earnout.
Exactly.
They wanted the IP.
There was a 5-year employment contract that and they made sure the right things were in place to make you want to stick around. But it didn't matter. And the only team, and here's what you guys will think is really interesting. So I talk a lot about being an entrepreneur instead of a W-2 employee, and look where it got me. Well, I had to go back to being a W-2 employee after they bought me.
That had to be hard.
And it was a private, it was a private equity roll.
What do you mean I'm late?
That's it. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't even know.
Yeah.
We've never met before, anything else. I'm going to tell you right now, it did not work out. Because it wouldn't have worked out.
John, we're going to have to write you up. That's the 4th time you've been late this week.
You have no fucking idea. It'll be, my next book's called the worst 5 years of my life. Okay. Anyway, no, it was the last 2 years were bad. The first 3 were okay. But anyways, what was messed up though is, okay, in the insurance industry, what does everybody see? What was your first question you asked me about the business? When did you start hiring people? How many employees do you have? Okay. That's what people see and feel. Okay.
Yeah.
So now I'm part of a private equity roll-up where we're all putting it together. We have the core company that bought us, and then there's other little guys like mine that are all now part of it.
Sure.
Well, this company comes over. They've been 30 years in business. They have 50 employees, and there's 6 partners, and blah, blah, blah. Well, they're at a 12% profit margin. But the colleagues and employees within the walls of the organization don't see that, what their EBITDA is. They don't see how many partners they are. So at our sales meetings, on the damn conference calls, on the emails, they're always replying all. They're the big mouths and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just sitting there, oh, that's John. He only brought a couple handfuls of employees over.
Yeah,
who the fuck is he? Who the fuck is he? He's the guy that's able to retire at 37.
Sure.
You're the guy that is waiting for the stock to go up so you could pay off the mortgage on your fucking house. That's who I am. And that's literally the environment that became as a result of that. So I was like this quiet little fucking killer, dude. Like the only people that knew were the CFO and the CEO. Nobody else really understood.
Your best friends?
Yeah. Well, I have the CEO I like a lot. The CEO I like a lot. Well, actually, it's both of them. They weren't the problem. They were out in Boston. The problem was internally in Chicago. But what I'm saying is like people didn't. Okay, so a new operations guy comes in one day in Chicago towards the end, and this is where it was the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
And whatever, dude. And he was trying to make something right and was giving me a substantial raise. All he sees is our W-2 income. And he was trying to make something right, and I was pissed off about something that doesn't matter. And it was a $150,000 pay raise. Like he couldn't.
Tim.
I didn't want it because if I took that, it was taken away from some other things that he didn't really have visibility towards. So in his eyes, he's like, who's this fucking prick that doesn't want a $150,000 raise? This guy's a fucking problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He has no fucking idea.
On the back end. Yeah.
Dude, I'm worth dozens of millions of dollars at this point.
Yeah.
And this guy's fucking thinking, okay, do this shit, like suck ass for an extra 150 grand. Like, and it would have taken away some other stocks, things that I was trying to negotiate with other people. But what I'm saying is all the people within the walls of the organization see is the people that are talking the most, who has the most employees, whose team's the biggest.
Yeah.
Fuck that. In this world that we're talking about right now, all that fucking matters is profitability.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all that matters. How big is that dollar amount? So it's something that gets me worked up, and I talk about that in my book.
Clearly.
Well, I have a book. Well, you asking me how many employees I had,
I did that too.
led right into it, which is perfect because I talk. There's a chapter about this. I wrote a book called 2000% Raise. It's on Amazon, and there's a chapter that talks exactly about this.
Go check it out.
We'll put a link in the bio.
We'll get the whole thing.
Yeah,
in the show notes.
No, and I think that and you hit it on the head. Is the question is that so when I told my dad I came out and I had a rough past and everything else, and I got out and I did all this stuff and I started TTSG. I had to buy the copiers and the commodity, right? Yep. The hardware. But I'm not going to be I don't know how to set it up. Yep. I don't know how to put it on the network. I'm not delivering shit. Like,
how'd you do it?
So I went out and here's the thing. I went and sold a bunch of shit.
Yep.
And then I'm like, oh, I got signed contracts. And then I came back and I'm like, oh, there's no operations team whatsoever to take care of any of this.
Yeah.
So I'm like, so that's why I had to start. This is a service. Like, I had to start getting employees, and I started having delivery trucks, and I started having all of that stuff.
Otherwise you just would have been a broker.
Yeah, and I mean, at that point, I didn't even think about being a broker. I don't even know if that's. Yeah. I guess that's out there.
Could you have outsourced the setup?
Well, yeah. Now today, knowing what I know, I could have outsourced the setup. But I mean, I started having people in. Can you do me a favor? Can you come on the weekend? Can you help me load the truck? I mean, these things are 400, 500 pounds.
Yeah.
And you
can only carry two at a time.
Yeah, but like a quarter of a wheel.
Were you in the industry before you started the company?
Yeah, okay. I was. So I saw that, and I just didn't realize because as sales guys, you really don't look. That's another thing I was going to ask you. But being on the sales side, you never know what the freaking operations team is doing, and you never know anything of what's going on, or the hardships of what they're doing, or the trials and tribulations of what they need to do to get their job done. So this whole entire thing of what I did is like, I have no clue how I'm still here.
Well, you learn by failure.
But it's like a thing that John just said. It's like, oh, they look at all, like my competition, there's two companies in this. They're 200 million. Well, my great friend, Frank, and everything else from Impact, he's a great friend of mine and everything. It's a $250 million company. Yeah. And, so it's kind of, back and forth and everything else with us. But his operations, he owns half of Lake Forest. I mean, you run on 294, he's got a campus.
Yeah.
And it's like, I just go, how do you even afford? Yep. He's got to take in $5-10 million a month just to do all that. All these people. And now he's got 17 locations throughout the country. And we're over here in Hanover Park and we're selling nationally, but there's just no way, and nor do I want to expose myself to that.
Right.
I don't want to get that big.
So, dude, that's the thing that happened for me towards the end too. I was getting at that fork in the road. I either keep doing everything myself, or I was trying to start scaling.
Yeah.
And honestly, what you just described with the guy in Lake Forest, it gives me anxiety to even listen to, because now you're making it a complex organization. And I have a friend of mine. His name's John Cerasani. He had a cable contracting company that had a contract with Comcast. They'd be the guys that Comcast used to go set up your cable. Sure. And as a favor to him, and not really a favor, I did their health insurance when I usually do colleges, but he's my buddy, so I'm doing their health insurance. And I just remember we did an open enrollment meeting with them one morning, and I'm just in that damn thing where all the drivers are coming in to get their shit for the day, and I'm there at 6 a.m. explaining the shit to them and stuff, and I'm just watching all these questions he has coming back and forth. All this, and people are yelling at each other, blah, 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 blah. And now he's a guy that's been a very successful entrepreneur that makes millions, okay? Well, let's just assume we're about the same level. I don't know who makes more or less, but my organization, dude, was so fucking simple compared to what I see. So when I hear what you just described at frickin' Lake Forest, to me, as I look back, at first I was like, why would private equity want this fucking company and pay me, or why would they want to pay me this much? Now I look at it, it's like, holy shit, I probably could have got more, because they were buying a well-oiled machine without any headaches,
with barely any overhead.
The funny thing the funny thing about that is the private equity, they're just the guys with the deep pockets and the money. Mm-hmm. There's very rarely a time that you find somebody that is in private equity that can actually pull out all of your knowledge. Like, if I was to buy your company, because we're in the middle, we're doing things, acquisitions and mergers, and I'm always doing little things, to add business to the company, right? To more net transactions. So if I was in private equity, which the company I came from did 120 acquisitions. They were buying companies all throughout the country, but they never put a person just to go be like, hey, John, you and I are going to hang out for 3 days a week. And I just want to see how you do a couple things. And, how about this? And, how about you come over for, Thanksgiving and blah, blah, blah. They never drain you. They just look at you as a dollar amount. They signed the check. They did it. Now go produce.
Well, that's probably why they figure the 5 years, though. That's why they want.
No, he was a producer. He produced. They didn't go and drain him from all of his information that he knew, because he could have told them how to run the private equity better than the private equity guys.
Good point. Good point. But that's a good point. But if they might have done that if they were just buying me. They had so many, it would have been very difficult for them to do that.
Couldn't you have gone into the other companies and been like, you're making 12.5% to 15%. I think you should just do it this way. Trained 3 people in the organization, flew in, flew out, and they would have been a 30 or 40%.
That's why.
That's why I was going that way.
The last 2 years of my employment contract,
they finally thought about that.
Well, here was the problem. So the private equity firm backed an existing company. So this existing company was the one buying us with the private equity firm's money. Okay.
Sure.
So that company already had an infrastructure, and they had people that led these different divisions.
Yeah.
And that's where shit
went, smart people.
Exactly. And that's where shit went south for me, because what I think, I don't know this for sure, but what I think happened was the CFO started putting pressure on the guy that was running the employees benefit division nationally. Why don't you get these other offices to do what Cerasani is doing?
Yeah.
And I'm doing stuff that's creative, moving and stuff. And now it became like, okay, you guys are stealing my fucking ideas now. They made one kind of move that I was like, that was fucking bullshit, where they moved all my shit to one vendor without telling me. There's like little things happening. And I go, dude, fuck this, bro.
So you're starting to see them mess with your baby.
Well, no,
but the thing is, they can't do it, though. That's the problem. They can't fucking do it. And they go try. And all it did for us was, because when I went over there, dude, I was 37. I was supposed to be like, hey, this is going to be a guy that's going to be one of the executives of the company. He's going to stay well beyond his 5-year employment contract. And it just went so fucking sideways around the 3-year mark.
And is that why when you were initially negotiating, you not only the 5-year, but you also, rather than taking your money out, you opted for 35%
in stock.
Well, he believed in the roll up. When private equity comes
the roll up.
And tell me if I'm correct or not. They give you this plan. They take you out to dinners. They put you on all this stuff, and they sit you in a room, and they're like, "Hey, listen, we've got 11 people that we've done this right now. We're going to try to do 45. By the time we do 45 companies, we're going to be worth X, and someone else is going to be a bigger private equity, true private equity company will come in,
like
and then they'll just buy this, and they're still going to want us to be here. So then we're going to be able to roll into this, and then we're going to try to do it again. It's like a double. It's like a double bit bubble.
Yeah.
Like you're going to hit a double bubble.
That's exactly what happened. So they're buying companies like mine, say for around 10 times EBITDA. and then they're going to sell us as a package under one big name. The company's name was called Risk Strategies. So we're now Risk Strategies. All our little companies don't matter. We're now part of Risk Strategies. Then Risk Strategies is going to sell to another private equity firm for a bigger multiple of EBITDA. And what I don't really understand to this fucking day is, see, these private equity firms don't care at the end where the company goes. They care about giving returns to their investors. That's who they answer to. They're part of funds that are giving their investors returns. That's all they give a shit about. So at the end, someone's going to be left holding the fucking bag. I can tell you right now.
A dump and pump? Or a pump and dump?
Bro, I could fucking go back there right now. I'm not going to do it, but I could go back and fucking take every single one of my fucking clients that were with them. And if you just do the fucking math, okay, now you guys paid me all these millions of dollars. My non-compete's up. I could go take those fucking clients.
Yeah.
Like,
but John, hang on. Can I just tell you something? You don't need to.
No shit. Well,
life is a little better now.
I can't be this guy on Instagram yelling and screaming.
I've seen your blood pressure go from 160 over 120 to now I think it's at a calm 120 over 80. But my question
I had like Bible colleges with clients. Hey, this guy on Instagram's our broker now. That probably wouldn't go.
We're not going to get that repeat business.
The chapel's like, we don't know what happened.
So here's the thing. Okay, so you get all these numbers, you get all these figures. Okay, first of all, like I go home, right? Because I didn't pull the trigger on this. Okay. So I go home. Okay. I sit down, and at the time, so 4 years ago, I met my wife, still not married. I have 12. Actually, next weekend is my son. He's going to be a year old.
Awesome.
It's unbelievable, right? So so with that being said, I sat here and I had these businesses, and this is all that it's been. Yep. So I was married to this. Okay. Since 2008, I've been married to this. Okay. Longtime girlfriends have gone. Family, I wouldn't go to certain things. I spaced myself out. I did this whole thing and everything else. So now all of a sudden you get this opportunity. I went home. I didn't have anybody to go home to sit down at a kitchen table and go, okay, well, what's our future? What are we going to do? Blah, 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 blah. Yeah. So I just go home and I call Pop, hey, but Dad, they're going to give me X amount of dollars. He's like, when are you going to take it? Yeah. And I'm like, blah, 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 blah. So the next thing you know, he's calling in the morning, he gets up, he's calling, hey, how's everything going? Stress levels through the roof, everything else. But I just had to sit there and it's a gamble. I mean, everything in life is a gamble. I'm betting on myself yet again. This is the second round. Yep. But my thing is that you go home. Yep. Okay. And like, we all have friends. Like if you have more than 5 friends, you're lying. Yeah. Right. I have 2 or 3 friends that I could legitimately go and talk to and say, hey, how is this? Yep. And he's like, well, do you have the passion? Is it this? I mean, what could you do? What's the other side of the coin? You go home, they give you the LOI, they do the due diligence, they tell you everything that's the greatest thing in sliced bread. Then they give you the LOI, and then that language in the LOI, you're like, this isn't, we just need you to sign off on it so we can get into the due diligence. Right. So then they do how long, just by chance, how long was the due diligence? 90 days. Okay. So that's awesome, by the way. So then the next thing you know, they come back with this X amount of dollars. And are you just like, what the?
Yeah. So my LOI, for those that, LOI stands for letter of intent. So my letter,
I wasn't going to be able to sleep.
So my LOI actually had the dollar amount in it, and I was blessed because one of my best friends, a guy named Ray Bogenreef, worked at one of the big law firms in Chicago and he did M&A stuff. So I was kind of like ahead of my skis a little bit, if that's the right, I don't know if that's the right cliche or not, but I didn't have to, he was doing stuff for me kind of at a very, very steep discount. So I wasn't hiring just some lawyer off the street. Then I had a couple other friends, Brian, Preston, and Ian, that were both business minded, that were my best friends. And so I just kind of, I lived in a freaking nice ass condo in the Trump Tower. I'll never forget it. We're all sitting there having freaking drinks before we go out for the night. We're all single guys. And I'm overlooking the Chicago River and the Lake Michigan. It's like a 180-degree view in my kitchen. And I remember going over this with these guys. And would you guys do it? Like we never really talked numbers before. They all knew I was doing well in life because they have eyes.
They were at your house.
Yeah. We're at the Trump Tower. We're at the Trump.
They saw Lake Michigan.
Is this yours or?
But I think they were really engaged with the conversation because they're the only times I really spoke out loud about the stuff. And it was tough, man, because you're looking at it, and I was looking at it from the standpoint of, is this enough money to never have to work again? Okay, because I knew I could do well in insurance, and people that are supporters of me, dude, you're going to do well in everything you do, and blah blah. No, fuck that. If I'm I know I can
became
do
an
well
expert at it,
dude. Exactly. And I
so
was
it
really
was
good
a
at
question to you, like when you put these numbers down and everything else. Well, obviously, we're just from the other side of 90.
Yeah.
I think that. What did you live on the? I lived on the north side of 90. So were you on the north side of 90?
What do you mean?
Or were you on the
when
south
I lived
side?
in Schaumburg?
Yeah, Schaumburg.
Yeah, no, I was way south. I was down in way
Okay.
south, yeah.
So my thing is that
I'm by like all the way down by like the Elgin O'Hare Expressway.
Oh, okay. So I mean, the thing is that we both come from the same area, high school, everything else. We just talked earlier about what our parents made, ish, right? And the next thing you know is you see these, and it's obviously a couple numbers in front of a comma with a couple zeros behind that with another comma, which I've never balanced a checkbook in my life, so I don't even know what that is. But my thing is you get this type of, you read it, and then you have to I mean, you were young, you're 37 years old, and you're like, well, I mean, I don't know how much investing or all this other stuff that you did previous to this, but my thing is that you sat down and thought about this.
Right. No, my net worth was going up at that point. I had been saving money each year. I was trying not to overspend. You learn quickly how Uncle Sam takes a lot of fucking money when you start making money. But I had a nice little nest egg built up, and I knew this would put me over the edge of when I did. I was still kind of at that point shell-shocked.
Yeah.
Because remember, I thought the whole model was to sell for 1.5 to 2 times gross revenue. So I didn't really ever see it in my future to sell the company. I never really did.
Oh, you were going to do this for a long time.
Well, just because it was never going to make sense. I think I was going to try to hand it off at some point and cross my fingers.
Only because you didn't understand private equity yet. You didn't understand the VCs and how they worked. Right?
Correct. And I thought just the market was different than what they're buying it for. So I just looked at it.
So you were really shocked when you saw the number. You were like,
because you think about this. You have an 80%.
They love me.
Exactly. Well, so when I got the letter of intent with the actual number, I couldn't believe it because he had said it was going to be that, but I go, let's see what.
Yeah, because it's actually in writing.
Exactly.
So that's what I'm saying. That point that you got that number on that sheet of paper, because everyone does all this,
right?
But then when you have to put your name, John Hancock, on it, what they said never comes out to do this. So you're shocked, you're surprised. You're sitting down with your buddies at your residence. You're looking, you're looking at getting an answer from some of the guys that you trust.
Yep.
What
what did they say?
What did they say?
Yeah. It was mixed reviews, man, because it was nice having all this money coming. It was nice having all this money coming in, and I got to tell you, even after I did it, even to this day, I'm not used to. People see me at the casino, dude. I go lose fucking $250,000 at the casino, bro. These fucking young YouTubers and shit that are out there gambling. Yeah. Guess what? They have the ability to go make fucking money, dude. This young guys that some of your audience is going to know.
That's the thing.
Like Bryce Hall, Steve will do it. Those guys go drop $100,000 at fucking Red Rock tomorrow night. Good for them. They're still making money. This motherfucker, whatever my net worth is, if I lose $100,000,
came down.
Now it's net worth minus $100,000. You know? So it's just different for me, and I'm still wrapping my head around that. And it's been years now, right? Of not building upward because I've focused.
Because that's all you knew. Because that's all you knew.
Yeah.
Okay, but hang on one second, because it's kind of a misconception, though, right? Because like people normally don't touch this type of money. You can look at it; it's less than 1% of the world has, So today's day and age, and there's CFO magazine, and there's investment magazines that'll tell you that you got to take your X amount of expenditures every month, and you got to times it by X 25 or whatever, or your when you're going to retire to when you're going to retire to when you think the scientists will tell you you're going to die, right? Okay, whatever your genetics or whatever. Okay, so now all of a sudden you're going to live. You're athletic. You're 37. I think the stress level's down. I think you're in prime. I mean, you're like, okay, I'm going to live to 85. Okay, cool. That's 38 years. No, 48 years.
Right.
Yeah. So for 48 years, you have to make that money work for you.
Yeah.
And the thing is the misconception is that, okay, why do people continue to roll their money over and how can somebody not work for 10 years but be worth twice as much? Because your money doubles every 7 years. If you're making, rule of 72, if you take your money and you're making 10%, it's going to take you 7.2 years to get double your money if you're with somebody of reputation and you're not, your risk tolerance level and so on and so forth. If you want to get aggressive, you can go to whatever. That was a question that you had.
I was looking at it like this. I was looking at it same train of thought, but I was looking at it like, okay, my goal always was to get $10 million by the time I'm 40.
Sure.
And my mindset was live off 5% of 10 million. That's $500,000 a year.
Yeah.
John, you're from Schaumburg. You got to be a real big asshole not to be able to live off half a million dollars a year, little buddy.
Until you're 39.
So the problem for me was that if I accepted this offer, it was going to blast right through that 10 million. But then I started taking a step back and realizing, gosh, I spend a lot of money though, man. I'm doing like some pretty nice things. I've never done stupid shit. Like I don't buy really expensive
You
cars.
bought assets. You didn't buy liabilities.
Yeah, exactly. But I'll go on nice vacations, dude, and I gamble and stuff. The gamble's been going in my direction the last few years, so that's a bad example. But just like, I'm not a guy that's like super wasteful with money. Okay, I'm not buying.
You have a waterfall,
dude. I think that's most ever. I think the most I ever spent at a nightclub was like $4,000 in Vegas on someone's bachelor party. Like I'm not buying $20,000 worth of Cristal, dude. You know what I mean? It's not my move. You know what I mean?
So you look at, so now all of a sudden you get this and you get the number, and all of a sudden you're thinking, you're asking your friends, so on and so forth. Then all of a sudden it makes you realization that maybe I can just not spend so much.
Yeah.
And I can do this and this.
Well, here's what I didn't realize. So dumbass here was I was able to negotiate a salary for those 5 years employment contract that I had. Okay.
Yep.
And you had to be careful how you negotiated that because it was they're going to figure out your EBITDA on a pro forma basis.
Yeah.
So
you get deductions.
Exactly. So every dollar I put towards my salary was $10 less on the purchase price, but they wanted it to be a realistic number that I could live on. So I set the salary at $350,000.
Okay.
We're in month 4 when I realized, okay, I'm spending way more than $350,000. So like, because I'm getting it as a W-2 paycheck.
You didn't go through the 3 in 4 months.
No, it was a salary. I was getting paid every 2 weeks.
Okay, yeah.
They were taking out
so
taxes.
they wouldn't just write you a check to get you off the books to then, okay, I get it.
It was $350,000 salary, so I was getting paid like a W-2 employee.
But it was a salary, it wasn't a distribution.
Correct.
Okay, yeah, so yeah.
Big
that was a whole different
That was a whole thing.
Because I already had that money going somewhere else, a whole separate account. This is going into my checking account. This is my live-on money. Oh, no, not so fast, pal. So I was blasting through that, and it was kind of eye-opening for me, and I really started paying more attention now to how I spend money.
Yeah.
So what I do now, bro, is I at least twice a year I take a step back, I calculate my net worth, and just kind of see where I'm at. And knock on wood, even though I haven't really been making any money for the last 4 years, my net worth is still going up.
That's awesome.
So
that's perfect.
So what that means is the investment income is bringing in more money than I'm spending.
Then you're spending.
There's a key nugget we're leaving out here. So you left it in, so you had 35%.
Yeah.
The roll up happens.
Yeah.
Another company comes in, buys out that private equity.
Double bubble.
All of a sudden now your 35% does what?
Triples. So the biggest bet I ever made on myself.
Is this where you got really upset when you called me last night? When you told me I watched the video? He called me last night and he goes, "This guy is unbelievable." He goes, "He just went 35 with it. That's 70%." I go, "No, it's a multiplier, John."
I'm not even good. I think he made a lot of money. I don't know. I'm only on the 80th Instagram.
Yeah. So this is kind of one of the things I talk about too a lot is like, as an employee, you just don't have access to what's going on in the executive level. I talked about stock options and things of that nature. Yeah, you see it, how it's presented to you, but you don't see like these levels and layers of things that really have no business seeing. And for me, it was just like, hey, I kept doing the same job I was doing at Arthur J. Gallagher. I just did it with myself up here, and now it gave me visibility into all these levels. With the private equity purchase being one of them. So I took 30, I had to take at least 10% was part of the deal. I decided to take 35% of the deal in stock in the company that bought mine. That was April 30th of 2015, we closed. Right around July 8th, a couple months later, I don't remember the exact date, but right around then, we get an email that the investors and stockholders only are supposed to be on this conference call. And the CEO presents to us that Kohlberg is selling the company to a company called Kelso. These are 2 different private equity firms. We still exist. We're still under the Risk Strategies company, but our financial backers were changing. Well, what that means is when that purchase happens, they're selling it for fair market value, okay? And that fair market value based on where the market was at led my 35% that I had literally just got in April to close to triple.
3 months later.
Exactly. Now, I'm like I said earlier, I don't know why, like, other people are going freaking nuts because they had been waiting 6 years for this to happen.
Yeah, this is a private equity that took place 6 years prior, but with the same exact expectations of what they sold those people to, but it took him 6 years to do it. He got in at 5 years and 9 months.
Well, and that was also good for me because it also opened my eyes a little bit to the environment that I was in, because I was their 18th acquisition. They've made over hundreds now. I was pretty early. And, you know, the conversations other people were having where they were waiting 6 years for this to happen is so they could use that money to pay off their vacation home or whatever.
Sure.
It's because they sold companies where they had 5 or 6 partners. They didn't have profit margins like me.
Yeah.
They had way too many employees that were driving down their profit margins.
Sure.
So people weren't in the same financial position as me, where my dumbass just is walking around thinking, oh, look at all these multimillionaires I'm hanging out with. No.
You were in a totally different category.
Again, where only me, the CEO, and the CFO are the only people within the walls of the organization that understood that. So, and good for them. It was kind of more of like, you know, don't ask, don't tell kind of stuff.
That was actually good of them.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good, dude. Dude, honestly, if it wasn't that, I would have had animosity towards me from day one. It wasn't until later.
Oh, you wouldn't have had the same. Yeah, they wouldn't have looked at you the same way as just another guy that got bought out and, hey, how's it going, John?
Yeah.
They would have looked at you and said, oh, his numbers are 80% higher than ours, blah, blah, blah. And then you would have been...
Or it would have been like, okay, John doesn't want to drive to Dallas for this committee meeting. Oh, because he thinks he's too good for us.
Yeah, you would have had that.
No, it's because I'm taking my fucking daughter to her volleyball game. That's why, you fucking asshole.
Like, this is why I did what I did.
Sure it is. It's because you're a millionaire.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is why I did what I did. So that's a good thing. So I saw that on one of your reels that you said that so that measurement of the money wasn't necessarily the entire thing. It's the 12 year. How long was it? 12 years? 12 years?
So what happened was, and actually I'll give you guys a nugget that I haven't really shared with anybody because it's next level. So my employment contract was supposed to end at the 5-year mark, but shit went sideways, and we decided to end it early on that 4.5-year mark. Well, there was a little discrepancy on that it should be ending because I knew they were going to buy me out of my stock the day that I left, and this was December 2nd of 2019. And I knew any day now that private equity was going to flip again, just because I had some inside information a little bit, but I didn't want to be sold out of the stock until it flips again, because I knew it would go up. Okay, so we get in a pissing match about how that employment contract was ended. Let's just say they didn't dot the I's and cross the T's on a couple fucking things, and it was
the smart guys didn't do that.
These guys made me. Well, they were all very smart, but the problem was the original contract was the legal team of that private equity firm, the legal team of this private equity firm. Yeah, but they just assumed I had the same standard contract everybody had, but my buddy who was a lawyer wouldn't let us do something in the contract. They weren't allowed to get rid of me unless there was cause.
Yeah.
And they tried to get rid of me without cause. Sure. You can't get rid of me without cause. Well, yeah, you could. We already talked about
everyone else's contract.
Yeah. Go read my specific contract.
Yeah. Line 47, section A4.
Pretty much.
You sank my battleship.
Yeah. So that gave me, it put me in a different spot where they had kind of egg on their face. They had already announced that I was no longer working there.
Oof.
And I'm like, you guys can't do this. I'm like, our legal team already reviewed it.
Yes, we can. Why don't you check with HR?
I call my lawyer. I call my lawyer up, and he's like, they just fucking breached the whole contract, dude. You could start a new company fucking tomorrow and take all their fucking business.
Sure.
Luckily for them, I don't want to do that. Luckily for them, I want to go fucking get a beer. But it was fine. I hate saying anything negative about them because they literally made me rich. But whatever. So what that did though, what was huge, okay? And I send my buddy every year when I'd get a new tranche payment, a bottle of Cristal, the lawyer that did this, because he wouldn't let me sign the damn thing with that at will, without the for cause language in there. Fuck that. They could fire for cause without cause. No, they have to have for cause if you have to stay there.
Yeah, well, you're an executive at that point. I mean,
dude, he put his heels in the sand and wouldn't go. I go, dude, do not fuck up this deal.
Yeah.
He goes, John, and I'm not letting you sign that. Everybody else signed it. My buddy wouldn't let me fucking sign it. And he was a 34-year-old fucking lawyer. Almost as if like our naiveness, like if that's a word, like was helping us. Because it's like, no, it doesn't make sense logically. Well, everyone else is like, well, dude, look at the millions of dollars, just fucking sign it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it literally made me millions because not only did I stay now for that turn of the stock where it now tripled, the new stock certificate, okay? So because of that argument, the stock sold to another private equity firm. So it tripled now a second time, okay? And the new stock certificate didn't have the same rules as the other one, whereas when you work your last day, we buy you out of 100% of your stock.
Oh, term investment. You were able to keep your money in.
So they had to buy you out of the double triple?
So they had to buy me out of the double triple. But under the old contract, it was 100% buyout on the day you leave. With this new contract, it was 3 tranches over a 2-year period. So they were going to give me 40% day one, 12 months later, 30%, 12 months after that, 30%. Now check this out though. At the fair market value at that time.
At that time.
So I got how many ever millions of shares of stock, and during that time it went up like again. Another 200. It went up like $2.80.
Oh my!
So I made like an extra I don't even remember the number, but it was millions. I made millions more because of that.
And because of your buddy.
And if I would have walked, exactly. And now he doesn't really ever accept it. He's like, dude, that was just like lawyer. I go, buddy, this is the fucking case study you should be using. Now he's working on big time shit, and he's at some big company, so like he's not going to use this as his case study.
That's
but
so
I go,
cool.
dude, that's good lawyer work right there.
That's so cool.
So every year I used to get, because I was still getting paid because of that. Oh, and then also we worked out something with my severance because they kind of fucked something up with that. But anyway, so I was still getting paid these tranches well into 2022. Okay. So I hadn't worked it now since December of 19.
So it's been now 4 years.
So December of 19 was the last day.
December 3rd, December 2nd of 2019 was the last day I worked there.
But you were getting paid till 2022.
Well, 5 days later, they tried to rescind the termination because they realized they fucked up. I go, nah, they go, you could be a sunset employee. Well, what the fuck is a sunset employee? Well,
you don't ever have to come into the office. You can do whatever.
Yeah. How about we do that? But I'm not an employee. You just pay me all this fucking money. So I hired lawyers and their lawyers. It was
so 2019 is the last day that you worked. And
great.
Now all of a sudden.
And they also had to get the deal done with a private equity firm without any pending litigation. So
they had to settle with you.
Yeah. But I think they settled for what was fair. I mean, dude, at the end of the fucking day, their legal department in New York has no idea what's going on operationally in Chicago.
Ever.
They're just backing their guy up that I got in the pissing match with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
So it is what it is. Whatever.
All right. So all of that, right? Now let's get into the fun stuff real quick.
Now, based on your viewers' feedback of that, I'll decide if I'm ever telling that story again. It's kind of long-winded, but it's really
a
good story.
fantastic story. And by the way, here's the cool part about it that I just kind of hit me is your life could have taken a completely different path, but a coach put you at fullback.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And you could have
contusion on his spine.
You could have gone and been an NFL player, had some glory, maybe took a Super Bowl home. Yep. Who knows what happens when you get in the show? Like, you know, maybe you end up having this. Something happens for you. You get with a great quarterback. You run up stats. Like your life could have been completely different. Yep. And because of that, your life completely changed. And you had to make some fast decisions that were probably very difficult.
Yep.
And then
on the run.
But you just kept your head in the game and you said, okay, well, I'm just going to take that competitive nature that I have and I'm just going to throw it over here into this.
Yep.
I'm going to take the same upbringing, the same skill set, the same fire, the same competitive nature. I'm just going to throw it to this new sport we call selling insurance.
Right. That's exactly what happened.
And boom. So it's almost like a kind of like a, I think when people get injured like that and their whole life is predicated on, I'm going to be this thing.
Yep.
They feel sorry for themselves. They get into
That's
a
the
rut.
whole point.
Yep.
They wallow.
Yep.
I could have been somebody. All that narrative comes in. It doesn't sound like maybe you had it for a bit, but you didn't hang with you.
Yeah.
And it's almost like the universe is kind of paying you back for that mindset.
I think so, man. I was 23 years old. I was ready for football to be done anyways. I was beat up and I was ready for a bit to be done. But another thing is what you just brought up too. The league minimum was $225,000 back then. And I'll never forget it because a couple years after I decided, maybe I'll make a little run and get back into this shit. And
there's the foot tingle.
Yeah, people are like, I gotta go to the NFL. Exactly. So I call up an agent, and he represented this guy named Joey Goodspeed, who played fullback at Notre Dame. He's actually from Ottawa, Illinois, and we were buddies. And I got in touch with his agent. Anyway, he goes to me, dude, you understand? Like, because he was like 25, 26 at this point. He's been in and out of leagues. In the NFL, that 225 minimum, whatever it is now, it's called 600. You ain't getting all that money. You get it paid on 117 for how many games there are in a season? 17 games.
You get a check, game check.
600 divided by 17.
Yeah.
You're not on that fucking roster. You ain't getting fucking paid.
Yeah.
So guys like him.
So what practice squad's a different check, right?
Practice squad's a different check that's guaranteed. You can only have like 2 guys on your practice squad, I think. So
at that time,
that's it's a whole different conversation. And you got to be in your first couple of years, I think, even beyond that. But what's messed up about it is people don't really realize. Like, there's only so many guys that are the superstars getting rich on an NFL team.
Yeah.
NBA, all those guys are millionaires. NFL, not the case.
That's what cracks me up about the world, because the world's talking about one direction, but within, we had this Super Bowl coming up, or we just had the Super Bowl, and the whole thing about that is it's the greatest meritocracy in the world.
Yep.
Is athletics. The best play. That's it. Doesn't matter. Just the best play. And by the way, and based on how best you are, dictates how much of that money that is cool. You get your piece. And hey, by the way, you just do punt block. You only get this piece.
And that's especially true for freaking quarterbacks too, man. If quarterback wins a Super Bowl, they're holding a different freaking regime, bro.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So my thing is, hang on a second. So you get to this point where you sold.
Yeah.
You're out. You're December of 2019. So when did the Blackjack? Because it's important that it's important that the viewers and listeners understand that you not only played sports, you not only started a business, but then you started to would you say dabble in blackjack? Did you like gambling from the very beginning?
So I've always been a good numbers guy. I walk into a casino and pretty much tell you the casino's edge on most of the standard games, roulette, craps, blackjack. And what had happened was I was gambling all the time anyways. But what ended up happening was I started doing angel investing in like 2020 during COVID and just throwing money around and stuff. Ended up putting me in some high profile rooms and started telling people my story. And then before I knew it, I was starting to go on like some smaller podcasts, talking about just my story. And then, dude, you should write a book. And that's where the 2000% raised book came from.
Cool.
Well, when that happened, I started now leaning into social media really to promote the book, 2000% raised.
For sure.
Okay. And over time, that's a different book. Over time, the entrepreneurial piece of 2000% raised got more and more popular. And then what ended up happening was I started folding in lifestyle things to that. And lifestyle meaning going out to nice dinners, going on vacations.
Sure.
The gambling was a part of it. And I've never seen the internet react so positively to a topic, dude. Everybody loves the gamble. Dude, I could go on Instagram right now and give the best fucking piece of business advice and say it in an entertaining way. And this and this got me rich.
25,000 views.
Dude, yeah. And if I go on there and start saying something about a crazy blackjack hand, 1 million views.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What did I tell you?
Yeah, it's crazy.
On LinkedIn, I'll do this like video. I think I really made a solid point.
Yep.
And I'll post it and it's X.
Yep.
Then I'll go down to the driving range over here.
What was the one? 600,000 views on you hitting the driving range?
So I go down to the driving range. I take out a 3-wood. I'm like, what's your favorite club? I rip a couple 3-woods. Then I come back and I'm like, if you're going to create content, you probably should do it from interesting places. And the thing goes nutty. There
you go.
And it's the same point. It's
Talking
like
to
people
a club
want to see
champion here, by the way.
interesting things.
Yeah. Well,
That people.
He's a club champion.
Club champion.
Yeah, he's a plus. What are you? A
+1.
plus one. Yeah, so
right,
it's not.
nice.
So gambling, I will still gamble against him in golf.
In
Just
golf?
like,
Really?
for sure. We'll putt for putt, closest to the hole. Anything can happen.
Okay.
I'll double down. I'll do whatever.
Yeah.
It's not good.
All right.
But nobody wants to play me straight up. Let's play straight up.
But see, golf's a thing probably very similar to blackjack in a lot of ways because everybody thinks that they could do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People that don't go, okay, I could go out there and go. No one's like, I could go play freaking LeBron James. I could golf. Okay,
Yeah.
that's what they're like.
Yeah.
Anyone could play blackjack. You know.
Yeah.
But what I was shocked about is this, and you might want to fold this in with the golf stuff. I could say some basic shit that's second nature to me in blackjack.
It's so complicated.
Second nature, and people like if I explained it in a succinct way, people's like eyes light up.
Yeah.
Now you get the other people that'll come chime in.
The trolls.
Dude, he's fucking sitting here saying that something I knew 20 years ago. Okay, bitch, then go say it on your page, dude. Okay, no one cares about you. You know what I mean? But like, and you'll get that with golf too.
Absolutely.
But some pointer that you don't think is a big deal because you learned it when you were
Just
12.
the way you said it.
You know what I mean? And it's something like just because you know it.
You think it's obvious because you do it.
Yeah.
So I did a post about how to hit a cut shot, a draw, and how to hit it straight.
Okay.
So I showed the feet, the grip, where you take the club back, all that stuff. And it was just a quick, and that's the thing that of all my posts, that was the one where people were like, wow.
Yeah. Was it you holding the trophy?
No, nobody gave a damn about that one. But the one where somebody was like, that's how you hit a draw. And it was so basic.
And it's something that was second nature
to them,
to you.
they were like, I had no idea.
Yeah.
I watched that. I went and hit a draw.
Yeah. There you go.
Well, and also you're doing LinkedIn too, where it's like.
They want to be entertained a little bit.
Yeah. But people are going to be like less, I'm guessing at least, less confrontation.
There's not troll. There's no trolling.
Well, hang on one second.
Yeah.
So that's a good point, but not okay. We've been on LinkedIn forever because that's what that's you can really get into find someone that you want to do business. It's like it's like a legal way to stalk
CRM.
people. Okay, it's a CRM of just the whole world.
Yeah,
but recently, no, it's so crazy.
Yeah,
we had a guy that we said something and he came after the company. And I had to call the guy up.
We had to write a letter.
And I had to call. I just said, hey, guy. I said, listen, here's the deal. I said, what upset? It was that we delivered a copier in like New Hampshire, like an hour late.
Like 6 years ago.
6 years ago. And he wanted to tear my COO's head off because he was getting in the car and his Bluetooth kicked in and he thought he hung up on him.
Yeah.
And he comes over and he just lights us up. Now, the difference is that if they light you up on LinkedIn, they light you up, your page up,
right?
Your employees up. They light everybody around you up.
Yeah.
So where it's like you, right? You're on Instagram. You can handle the trolls. You've had trolls your whole life.
Yeah.
You've lined up on the other side of the line to talk shit the whole time. But the thing is on this LinkedIn, it can get bad.
Yeah. One of the things I've learned, dude, because it used to bother me a lot, and it's like, it still bothers me a little bit, but it's like, dude, I have a couple of people saying the really negative shit about me that are just like categorically false, and there's a couple of things going on with that, but it's like, dude, what's damage has really come of it? Nothing really. Who gives a fuck?
Well, it's at the end of the day, it's publicity.
Yeah, well, or it's like, even if someone's saying a lie about you, if what's really happened that's affected me from it. Now, LinkedIn's different because you might like actually
could
lose
affect
a client.
the brand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So my thing is so you get into this whole thing, and we want to get into this, and just quickly. You were always into gambling.
Yeah.
You always now was it sports or was it
I used to sports gamble, but casinos are my thing. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, cool. So the casino, you're good with numbers, everything else. You get a payday. So did you gambled quite a bit while you were out and having your own business and everything else?
But I changed from like a high limit player to like a super high limit player.
Okay. Yeah. So that's a whole different level. So now because in Blackjack and the viewers and the listeners and everything else, you don't understand that there's four other players at the table with you. So there's five. There's 5 players at the table that can affect your hand.
Right.
So they can it could be catastrophe because you get a double down hand, and I could have this wrong or whatever, but I know that you have an 11.
Yep.
Or you get an 11, you're going to double down. You get a 9, you're going to double down.
Yep.
Against whatever. Okay. But my thing is all these other players
can
really screw you up, and you go from Gen Pop is your favorite. I love it. I love the whole Gen. I love it because everybody finds themselves in Gen Pop.
Yep.
Because that's just
Gen
where
Pop
it is.
meaning general population.
Yeah, it's a general pop. You're at Gen Pop. When you go to a casino, you don't matter.
You don't know who.
You don't have anything in your pockets, and you're not pulling a marker out. And you're not spending $50,000 to $75,000. You're just not. Okay.
Real quick,
and you're not doing it at Elgin Casino either. Okay.
No. And by the way, be careful who's sitting at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where you really
third base. Yeah.
You really got to be careful there. Just point real quick.
Yeah.
There's 2 books. Yeah.
And 3 books actually. This is my Blackjack manual. I don't really call it a book. It's a manual. I just sell it through my website.
So first off, you want to go to www.2000percentraise.com
or the CerasaniRules.com.
and then the CerasaniRules.com, right?
Yep.
So who's this guy? Who's this guy on the cover? Very handsome.
Very handsome guy.
Very handsome guy.
It's like a tall Tom
Looks
Cruise.
like he'd be a Hollywood guy. I don't know what's going on there. I like this. Oh, this is This would be my ball marker. I'm just gonna piss people off. Like, is that your line?
Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome. No, you should put it down like this.
No, I'm telling you, I'm putting this. I'm being. Is that in your line? Sorry, if you want. Is that a problem?
Not Gen Pop.
Yeah.
I know where you got this from.
What's that?
No, I just know where the
coin came from.
Yeah,
really? Someone put me onto these guys recently.
No, not this whole thing. The concept of it because of what you do for law enforcement.
Oh yeah, that's exactly right.
And we won't even talk about that because that's.
So the Cerasani rules, right? So just to give you a little bit of the introduction, the understanding, casino length of
There's one there,
stay,
too, if you wanna point it out.
bankroll and betting limits, table play, money management, conclusion. Give us the gist of this. First off, the Gen Pop concept, you've kind of created a trend with this and you branded it, which is cool because you got on hats and all that stuff. So I love when people do that.
Yeah.
That's always fun.
People just really gravitated towards it, dude. I kind of just leaned into what people reacted to on Instagram and the whole idea of not Gen Pop. Okay, so Gen Pop stands for general population, and usually people associate that with prisons, but I made a reference to the non-high limit room of the casino being basically Gen Pop. And they treat you like shit there, dude. They treat you like shit. They give you different rules than the high limit players get. And I was at the Venetian when I set it on a reel at 2 a.m. I'm sitting there with another person. They're playing green chips, $25 chips, because they wanted to go play out there. And I'm sitting there. I'm like, dude, there's a shuffler that just goes forever. There's no end to the shoe. It just keeps dealing. They just keep recycling the cards into this machine, and they keep dealing. There's no end. They're paying 6 to 5 on blackjack. So if you bet $25 and get a blackjack, they're supposed to pay you $37.50. They're only paying you $30 in Vegas if you play in Gen Pop. It's insane. You get an ace and an ace, and another ace comes up. They don't let you resplit it in Gen Pop.
Yeah, you should be able to split 3 times. That's
Crazy, dude. Surrender is a big thing that it depends where you're at, but a lot of high limit rooms offer surrender, which Gen Pop doesn't. So there's a lot of just reasons that I think on the page, the whole transition of Gen Pop has gone from casinos to real life, okay, where people are starting to make their own analogies like, okay, being an employee and just living your life following the sheep, you should expect Gen Pop results, dude.
You're talking about the Matrix.
Yeah, dude. You're
being stuck in the Matrix.
If you live your life in Gen Pop, don't expect not Gen Pop results, So,
But hang on one second. Hang on. That's a great point. My thing is, though, is that, John, not everybody can do this.
Right.
Not everybody. No, and I'm not talking about gambling. Well, in a little bit, I guess I am. Not everyone can take the risk tolerance of knowing something, even if you're good, and nor do people want to do that. There's a lot of stress, and I mean, for me, I can't even play. I won't. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
But for me, there was a lot of stress. I gave up drinking and everything in 2000 after 2 years of starting my company, because I was a major national account rep and was a W-2, and I was making hundreds of thousands of dollars, whatever. I had a good lifestyle. I did that, everything else. But not so many people can do what entrepreneurs do, handle the stress, and sometimes Gen Pop is going to be okay for some people, right? I mean, what do you say to that?
So people got to realize, I'm not referring to W-2ers as a put down. I was a W-2er and I needed it for my paid training to be an entrepreneur. Okay, when somebody's Gen Pop, calling it W-2 or Gen Pop like they're synonymous, that's not really fair, because Gen Pop is a put down. Okay, now it's a tongue in cheek put down, but it is.
Sure.
Telling someone a W-2, calling somebody a W-2er, that's not a put down. It's just fact. So if you're a W-2er, you shouldn't be offended by somebody calling you a W-2er.
You're a K1er, be a K1er.
So I think my page really is to draw awareness, because corporate America gives you the corporate Kool-Aid. They're brainwashing you to think that you can't do things that you could do. Yes. They set up their internal model so you never see it. You're going to be competing for President's Club each year. You're going to be competing for job titles and direct reports. You're going to be competing.
You're stuck in the Matrix.
Who gets to talk the most at the sales meeting? Who gets to do a presentation for this committee? Dude, who gives a shit, bro? Who gives a shit, dude? You're not seeing the layers that exist up here, where you don't need to be a rocket scientist, dude. You could just be some guy like me that decided to put himself on top of the org chart instead of staying down here.
So you're actually saying it out of affection.
Exactly.
You're saying it to inspire people to not just fit into the mold or the building block that society essentially wants to plug you into, so that we just have this machine that is going. And you look at like the education system, it was designed when manufacturing kicked in, because people needed to fall in line and they needed to be able to work the conveyor belt, and they didn't want you to think outside the box. They needed people to do the labor.
So people don't even know what their options are. There are W-2 employees out there, and fine, you want to stay a W-2 employee. There's people that aren't cut out to be entrepreneurs. Good for them. But should they not realize these other options exist?
They should at least realize it,
exactly,
so they can choose.
That's a good point.
So you could still be a W-2er and not be Gen Pop, though. So don't.
But you could be a W-2er and have a side gig. or two-side gigs,
brother,
or invest properly.
Let me tell you something.
That's true.
I made a reel a couple years ago, dude, and it was crazy. And what I said was, I was trying to justify what we're talking about, because you were saying, why you keep putting down W-2ers? People
No, I didn't say that. I understand where you're coming from.
I know.
So, okay, but it can be,
gotcha.
it can be taken that way.
Right.
Okay.
So I responded to a person saying, guys, listen, I have a brother that's a teacher. I have an uncle that's a cop. I have, I'm describing this stuff. I go, listen, if you're a cop, maybe you shouldn't follow this page. Keep being a freaking W-2er. This isn't what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And I got flooded. And this, I only had about 90,000 followers at the time. I got flooded with DMs from cops. F that. Don't leave us out. We all follow you at the station.
Yeah.
We all follow you at the station.
By the way, they're going to retire. They want to do.
Boom.
Yes.
They all have side hustles. A lot of them retire early if they have pensions.
Start a bar, start a restaurant.
Brother, so that's why I leaned into this whole thing with law enforcement, and then the military has kind of come as a result of that too, where the cops freaking love me, dude. And it's because I said, hey, I tried to say, my bad. And now I made a couple reels that started showing up at police stations. Because this was at a time, guys, a few years ago, where being nice to cops wasn't very popular.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Not on social media, at least.
And being canceled is a thing, too. So that's the other danger.
I'm showing up the LA fucking police department with a freaking box of steaks, handed it out. And at that point, dude, is when I really started realizing I got something here, because I walked into the LA County Sheriff's Office and they're waiting for me. People are coming back from their shift to talk to me. 90,000 followers at the time, dude. It was awesome.
So you're advocating. So, and I said that, I want to be very clear that I said that I understand what you're saying. Yeah. And I don't know if it's because I did take the chance, I've been a W-2 employee or whatever. So crystal clear, totally understand what you're saying. Okay. You're actually advocating to take to those individuals that follow you.
Yeah.
Just take yourself to the next level. Push yourself up. Be somebody that's extraordinary, or just be better than you were yesterday.
Even if you are if you're a cop, be the best cop.
Yep, exactly.
Like, that's what you're saying.
And with that point, the police officers have 2 or 3 days that they work, and they have 3 or 4 days that they're off. So
don't be off.
Don't be off. Go do a side job. Lay tile. Do this. Do some renovations on a piece of property.
But don't follow the book.
Gamble and do follow the book.
And in my early stuff too, I've tried to kind of like
the book.
I've tried to like make sure my message is taken the right way a little bit more lately, without still losing that edge that I have. But the reason it was taken the other way so heartedly was because I have a real disdain for corporate America and how they treat employees. So maybe I said, fine, go be a fucking W-2er the rest of your fucking life.
So you're not saying it to the employee. You're saying it to the.
I'm trying to create awareness of the situation that they're in, that they're trying to blind you from, dude. And this isn't like the little entrepreneurial shops. I had employees when I was talking this shit, dude. I had 6 of them. Like I'm not putting people down if you're a W-2er, but like you're at the big Gallaghers of the fucking world. You think Gallagher is out there cheering you? Hey, hope this guy figures it out and makes millions of dollars for himself instead of us. No. They're going to give you promotions and try to put golden handcuffs on you.
Because you're making 5%. A bunch of money for the company.
Yeah, dude. So it's trying to create that awareness, man. I think I was blessed to have an epiphany when I was 27 years old. You know, you talked earlier about the account, like having to do the operations stuff.
Yeah.
I was blessed at Gallagher because I had an account manager. Her foot was out the door. She didn't like it there. So she wasn't doing jack shit on my account. So I'd sell business. I'd have to manage the accounts. And it made me aware that, hey, I could do this too.
Yeah.
Now it's like, okay, what's stopping me from doing this on my own? Well, you're never going to get business. You need the Gallagher name to get the business in the first place. Yeah. Or they just think, you got to work for 100 years. So if I come up with a sales pitch that's different than what if I go say what Gallagher's saying, why would you choose me? Hey, here's how many years we've been in business. Here how many employees we have. We're going to compare that to Gallagher's. I could give a message. My differentiating value proposition has to be something that they could actually tangibly hold, and now they get it.
And potentially only get it through you.
Yes,
that's awesome.
Exactly.
And they buy from people buy from people they like.
That's true.
it. So
that's right.
You were obviously liked, and you gave people, I don't think of you as a bullshitter. I don't think of you as somebody that's going to massage the truth or anything like that. You're going to come right off. You're going to tell them exactly what it is. If they choose you, they choose you. If not, I'm going on to the next person. That's it. Period. End of story.
You know pretty early if that guy's going to be your guy.
Yeah. I mean, if you're in sales,
guy doesn't like me.
All right. So we have we have the Blackjack. So now the ups and downs of this real quick. And my thing is that you've been up quite a bit. Okay.
Yep.
I've followed for a couple of years now. You've been up quite a bit.
Crack the code, brother.
Okay. And you've been down. I mean, I think it was like last weekend I'm flipping through and I'm looking and like something like, I can say numbers?
Yeah.
Because you put it out there. Okay. Yeah. So my thing, so you had your Instagram. So you're down $50,000. Your third day.
73,000.
Or whatever it was. It was some astronomical number for most people.
Yeah.
Okay. And all of a sudden the thing goes like this. I'm here for weren't you there for 5 days?
Yeah, it depends what reel you saw, but the one I was 6 days. Yeah.
So you were there for 6 days and you're down $73,000 on your third day. It was in the morning. So it was like 2.5 days.
Yeah.
And you're like, I got to get there's a comeback.
Yeah. That was a reel from, I posted it the other day because originally I had posted it on my backup account, so I reposted that, but it was actually referring to a visit a couple months ago.
Okay.
But there was a huge comeback. So the
ups and downs of this?
Yeah. So the premise of the Cerasani rules though is if you actually read it, everyone thinks they know what it's going to say. If you actually read it, it's money management. And when I say that I've barely lost in the last 4 years, first of all, it's how you judge your losses. Am I saying I won every single hand?
No.
Am I saying I won every single session? Yeah. No. I'm saying, okay, my trip started Thursday. I'm leaving Monday. I'm going to make damn sure when Monday comes, I have more money than I came with. All right?
Sure.
All right? Then that's a win. Mm-hmm. I might have lost on the way there. During that time,
there's 4 quarters in football, buddy.
Exactly.
You could be down.
And in my book, I call it battles and wars. Hey, you might lose a couple battles. You want to win the frickin' war.
Yeah.
We're on a war here the next 4 days.
Okay.
And I spell out exactly how to do that. It's all about money management. It's the increments of your bet have to be a certain amount versus your bankroll. The biggest thing is this, man. People learn how to play blackjack, and they call it basic strategy, when to hit, when to stay, when to double, based on what the dealer's showing, okay? And if you think about, if you play basic strategy properly, the casino has roughly a 2% advantage on you, okay? Well, the thing is that 2% advantage they have isn't going to chip away at your money in a straight line. It's going to go down 2%, but it's going to go like this, win some, and then sometimes it's going to go like this. Yeah. The problem is, okay, when it goes like this, way down, people don't have enough money left to even exist.
To get back up to the next thing.
Exactly.
So because when it starts to go down, you feel it. It starts to get cold in that.
Well, dude, exactly. It's like this, and then all of a sudden it goes like this, and now you're out. The casino didn't run out of money. You did though. You're gone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's part one. Part two is people not stopping when it's up here. Okay. So I spell it exactly how I did it. I've literally lost a handful of times in the last 4 years, and people challenge me on that all the time. I go, dude, one person credible. I say the exact casinos I go to. I talk about exactly what I'm doing. You think someone as high profile as me could lie about this when casinos see me play? Don't you think somebody would be like, no, F him, he lost $1 million here?
There would be a counter Instagram handle.
Exactly. They'd call me out on it. So people don't get it, dude. People are jealous, I think. But the real people, dude, when they listen to this stuff, I'm entertaining and people think I'm funny and stuff like that. Some people think I'm just a douchebag too. So just don't get me wrong. But the real underlying message of all of this, dude, is to help people. And my blackjack, so I tell people, I go, dude, I was selling these for $25 initially. I only have a few left, so I'm probably going to raise it and do this limited edition thing for the final copies. Okay. But like, it's like, it's like
this is nothing. It took you more time to do this in your brain power than you're not getting a return on it. You're obviously doing it to help somebody.
Dude, I sold for $25. I can sell this for I guarantee if I sold that for $1,000. And here's what I still tell people in the first page of it. I'm like, I'm not guaranteeing you that you're going to win, but I'm guaranteeing you this is going to be way better than whatever the hell you've been doing.
Yeah. There's that.
I mean? Yeah. Dude, I got people thanking me left and right on this. Yeah. Now, you got to be disciplined to do this properly. I've sold 2,300 of them. I did an order for 2,500 on my initial print. I didn't know if anyone was going to buy it. So I have 200 left sometime this week. I don't know when's this going to air, but sometime this week I'm going to put it up, and I expect them all to be sold out pretty quickly.
Yeah, Perfect. When will this air? Just 2 weeks. Just 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Okay.
It'll be 2 weeks.
It'll probably be gone. I'm going to try to sell out the final copies this.
Do you want
to
make more of these, or do you want to do another edition that's a little bit a little bit more involved with you and
brother? I think I can make a whole book with this and the whole concept of not Gen Pop and make it broader.
I think you can do a lot of things, and there's a lot of knowledge up there.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of people that First of all, inspirational people. First of all these people that need help. We put out things
run
on
seminars.
Yeah, we put things out on here, and we go like this, and we get messages back that you've helped me and my wife. Like we just put like things out there, and there's some serious. You've helped me quit drinking. You've helped me with my wife. You've helped me with my job. I mean, there's so many different things, and sometimes people just need a little bit of a kick in the ass to change their entire life.
Yep.
So this is like, now that you just said that, it's like if you don't go and get this, you know, and you know, if you're a blackjack player and it's not
like,
working for you, if you're losing, I mean, just go and figure this out.
Yeah. The problem is you get these degenerate gamblers that are degenerate or not degenerate. They think that they know what the book's going to say. And guys, it's 12 pages. Read the fucking book.
Yeah.
You don't know.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
Okay, so we'll
Yeah.
I got to ask you this question.
Yeah.
And then I think we wrap it up, right?
Yeah.
Are you happy?
Someone asked me the other day on a podcast, would you rather be happy or would you rather be happy or rather be rich? And definitely my answer without hesitation was happy. Now this was the question of, am I actually happy though?
Yeah.
Good question, man. You know, I think I'm definitely happy. I definitely, you know, sometimes you got to take a step back and just kind of take it all in. You know what I mean? Like I think I mentioned, I lost both of my parents in the last 10 years, and you live your whole life in a way where that's who I was always looking to for approval. You know?
Yeah, I know. I know the feeling.
So you don't have that anymore, and now it kind of turns around a little bit. You're looking at your kids for approval, but it comes in a different form.
I think we're about the same age. I'm 49.
Okay.
And it's too young to not have your parents.
Yeah, you're in the same boat.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, man.
It's, you know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
like there's just moments where I'm like, man, it'd be really cool if I could ask that question.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, you know,
Or
it's
get
like
some advice.
Or yeah,
or
just like
how about one of these? Hey, pops. You know?
Yeah,
just
exactly.
You know?
an attaboy would be nice every once in a while.
Yeah, those were hard to come by, but
My dad saw right before he died, though. So I was living in the Trump Tower in Chicago. I'd already sold my company, but it was during that employment contract, and I went to great measures to my son lived in Texas with his mom, and something came up, and he needed to come live with me.
Sure.
So my dad saw me leave the Trump Tower as this single bachelor doing whatever the fuck I want.
Yeah.
To take my 10-year-old son at the time to move to in Inverness, Illinois.
they call that a man. That's a man decision.
You did
right
some
there.
man
That's
stuff.
it.
But
Yeah.
I could have still been selfish with it in the sense of raised him in the Trump. I could have stayed in
Yeah.
the city.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then he doesn't have the backyard. He doesn't have the
Exactly.
Yeah, it's
The
a different
neighborhood,
thing.
the other
Yeah.
kids, the friends.
So you change your lifestyle to give your son a
That's
lifestyle.
Not too many single guys are moving to freaking Inverness. I'll tell you. I'll tell you that much. You know what I mean? So sadly, though, the reason I picked Inverness instead of like maybe a Hinsdale or the North Shore was because my dad still lived in Schaumburg. So I was trying to be close to
close
him.
enough. Yeah.
So we moved all the way the fuck out there, and then he died 2 months later.
Sorry
so
about
that
that.
kind of sucked. Well, what the fuck do we come out here for? No, we're in this. Hey, Jake, we're in
Yeah.
this big house out here. Me and you, buddy.
Yeah.
So it's all right though.
I did want to ask you this because I did see you incorporate your kids in. So what's the best part about being a dad?
Dude, I got to tell you, man, for me, for my son, he's just so much different than I. You can tell he's my son because he thinks how I think.
Yeah, but God gives you what he gives you, doesn't he?
Bro, his talents are different than my talents, and it's just funny, man. You know, his mom was in that side of his family aren't big tall people like me, and so he kind of takes after them more. But he's so good at like communicating. He's so good at like technology and stuff, and I see him doing shit that I wasn't able to do in high school because I was so good at football.
Yeah.
That dominates your life. You get left out of all this other stuff.
Yeah.
the normal just
You know,
learning of
dude,
things. Yeah.
he's in this AP multimedia class. They're doing all this crap, and I'm like, I wasn't allowed to do any of that stuff because football ruled her damn life, and it really did until I was 24.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to him. We're starting to look at colleges and shit right now. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I had mentioned I have my daughter. I was actually with my daughter's mom previous when we were married, and my son's a different relationship. But it's really cool watching my daughter because they're both only kids with the two parents, but you would never know they're half siblings.
Yeah.
The way they became best friends when I had my son move up. My daughter was 15 at the time. My son was 10. That's probably like my biggest life accomplishment.
What's it like being a dad to a daughter? I got 3 boys.
How closely did you look at my page? Did you see pictures of my daughter?
Well, I saw that your daughter doesn't like seafood.
Yeah,
so I know that.
Okay, so
I know that.
She was 15 in that picture. In that video, she was 15 because I have a pin. That's a
She's
great video.
dry heaving. She ate a lobster ravioli.
Yeah,
She's dry heaving and crying.
do yourself a favor or don't. You have a daughter, you said?
No, I have 3 boys.
Okay.
So I'm actually curious how you pull this off.
Scroll through my page. I tag my daughter every once in a while. Go look at her page, and you'll see what the gray hairs I'm going to be getting.
Yeah, she's a pretty girl.
She's very pretty.
Yeah.
So she lives in. And everyone does their own path, man. She was going to the University of Iowa. Her and her boyfriend decided, hey, we're gonna go move to South Beach and get a condo there. I go, well, what? You guys are 21, and
Yeah.
so it's a little
Fair
bit,
enough.
Now she's going to Florida International University,
Nice.
trying to finish there. So we'll see what happens. But it's kind of cool seeing your kids doing such different shit than I was doing.
You want to know what
I
the
mean?
coolest part is from my side of the table?
What's that?
Is you lit up when we asked about your kids.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
So that's good stuff.
Yeah.
One last final thought.
I got a question though too.
Okay, good.
You wanna say-
Then you go ahead.
So, if there's one bit of piece of advice that you'd want to, talk to, if you could tell your younger self of through the trials and tribulations and all of these things that you've been through in 40 plus years or whatever it is, what time would you go back and tell your younger self? What would you tell them?
There's a few different ways I could answer that, but I'll answer the one that's probably most relevant to me right now. I'd go back about 4 years ago, dude, where I thought that I could just run around being an angel investor and venture capitalist, and I didn't realize how full of shit founders are out there. You think everybody has the same business acumen as you. You think everybody has the same level of ethics that you do. And I put money into a bunch of stuff, dude, that
They were cooking the books.
they were just like, no, they weren't like dishonest, but they just felt like you should be raising money if it's reckless to raise money if you don't have the experience and the wherewithal to actually get the job done.
Got it.
You know what I mean? And that's literally what was going on. And people lose their minds a little bit in that space, dude. Especially the technologies. They all have this. Wow, they're all going to be billionaires. You know what I mean? But
Did it come to you? And I'm sorry to interrupt, but did you come to you? So you put some money away in these companies, and then it either some may pan out, some may pan out, or some may not.
It's all
pan
longer
out.
term. It's all early stage venture capital. But I don't even make the joke anymore because it makes me sick about some of the stuff I did. But if you ever have a shortage of friends, just go change your LinkedIn bio to venture capitalist, and you're gonna have a bunch of freaking friends really fast.
Yeah. Interesting.
Put angel investor on there.
People kind of want money. Money's kind of a thing.
Yeah. So I changed that. But other than that, man, you look at like these pauses you've had in your life, and where it's like almost like Chicken Little, the sky's falling, and then you look back and think about all those sleepless nights and how much stress you had over it, and how big of a fucking deal was it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like this too shall pass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
All right. So I promise final thought.
All right.
Okay,
All
we're
right.
done.
Yeah.
What's the number one thing that you would say is the key to get more shit done?
Oh, okay. To get more shit done? I would say something I've been doing since my first day I worked in insurance, man. I get out of bed in the morning, and before I do shit, I write down with a pen on a piece of paper everything I'm going to do, and I time slot it next to it. And then after I finish those things, I cross them out. I don't put it in my Outlook calendar or my Gmail calendar. It's on a piece of paper.
Let's go.
To this day.
Tim, John, I want to remind you, you got shit done.
Thanks, man.
Let's go. Cheers. Thanks for coming. Can your business handle 15% growth? If yes, you have to engage with 2020 Design. They fuse data and creativity to stop the scroll, break through the noise, and grab the attention of your future customers. 2020 Design will create competitive, click-worthy campaigns, design and build custom websites, spark your social media presence, and structure email campaigns that get right to your audience, the decision maker. Let's boost attention and awareness, which allows you to convert more sales. Check them out at 2020design.com. That's the number 20, TWENTY design.com.